Good morning, Tempo Freaks and Raptor Freaks. Lexiot's here is Friday morning, and the Tempo got routed by the Lynx once again last night. In fact, this was the worst rout of the games that they played against the Lynx this year. The last time they got routed by them, they lost by 30. This time they lost by 32. Yeah, it was tough. It was tough. Um, this is normal. There's nothing wrong with what happened last night. Coach Sandy was pretty pissed off. Yeah, she had a tough press conference after the game. She didn't mince words, and she talked about standards and building culture of, you know, competing. And, the tempo can't compete. I'm going to say it right now. I'm just going to be blunt right now. I'm going to be blunt. The tempo cannot compete in their state right now this year at this point, at this stage of the season. They can't. And I'll explain exactly why. And everybody can have pie in the sky ideas. We were predicting the game yesterday, and some of us were like, "Oh, we're gonna win. We're gonna win." That's a good wishful thinking. But as we said on the call with Infamous yesterday, it's like it's either gonna be a very narrow tempo win or it's gonna be a blowout by the Lynx. And well, it was more likely to be a blowout by the Lynx. More likely to be one. I'll explain it very clearly right here. We're an expansion team. We have just started this year. We don't have years of collective experience and gelling like Kayla McBride and Nafisa Collier do. We don't have a program that's been established by a coach that has been there for a long time and has a very set way of doing things. When you're first setting something up, you have to worry about really basic stuff while the other teams are working on extremely sophisticated stuff. And add to boot that this is a new team with just gelling and newness and everything like that, a huge problem with injuries this year. So, as I kind of said this week already, while other teams are in high gear, know their identities, are playing really tough, what they're trying to do as strong as they can to get ready for the playoffs, we're still trying to sort things out. We're still trying to sort out our identity. And it's impossible to do it when you have 2 or 3 key players out every single game almost this season. It's impossible. So, you know, any kind of expectations or any kind of predictions for how the Tempo are going to do, listen, if they win a game against a top team for the rest of the season, it'll be a fluke. I'm going to say it right now. And, they started really well. And I kind of predicted this at the beginning of the year. I said there's going to be a honeymoon period. In some ways, they softened the schedule up in the beginning of the year so that we'd have fighting chances. And we were able to be 500 for a second there and kind of in the playoffs. But I knew there was going to be a balance at some point, and it would be more like this at some point during the season. We can idealize and think the best and think that this is going to happen. They're going to be so great and it's going to be so good, but that's not realistic. It's just not realistic. Any Tempo fans that were like, "We're gonna win the championship the first year," you're fucking stupid. No, we may take a few years to win it. We may take 5 to 10 years to win this. This is not an overnight thing. And if you really want to ride with it and see the fruition and feel the success, you got to ride with it through the ups and downs. And well, this isn't the down. This is normal. This is normal. We're trying to figure out connecting with our players just so we won't make dumb turnovers. And meanwhile, they're executing and figuring out high level switches and changes. And, we can hang for the first quarter. We do really well. Like Sandy has a good game plan. We're executing it. We actually are leading. We jump out all over them right from the beginning. We're doing great. But then, they're making adjustments. And they have personnel that's very savvy and smart, and they are communicating and they are making adjustments and they're taking us apart slowly but surely as the game goes on. Meanwhile, we don't have that kind of connection, that kind of knowledge base, that kind of culture yet on our team where we can do that. This is all something that's get built. This is totally different than the Raptors rebuild in the last couple years. In some ways, it's similar. In some ways, it isn't because there's a pre-existing history and culture of the Raptors for decades. And this is the first year of this, and we're just starting out. So everybody has to understand, even if we got blown out and lost to them yesterday, even if Sandy's really pissed and she's talking really tersely in the post-game news conference, this is exactly where we're supposed to be right now. And there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it. As a Raptors fan in the early years, look, when we got wins, I savored them. But when we lost, I was used to it because that's what we were supposed to do at that time. And I don't think the enthusiasm, the love for the team, the brand, the new jerseys, the colors, everything. Yeah, you can get all enraptured with that, but you have to realize the basketball aspect of this and the building of the culture and the team is a totally different kind of thing. You can get into all that and you can be diehard, but you have to be realistic about what you think and what you expect. You have to be realistic. I could see it in real time last night. We jumped all over them. Sandy had something fresh. And honestly, what it was the tempo. We're pushing the tempo. We were speeding up the game in the first half. We sped the game up really, really fast to the point where it's uncomfortable for the Lynx. We got them going so quick and turned around. The Lynx were making poor mistakes for a little while in the first half because the game was so sped up from what we were speeding it up. And they got all into speeding up too, and they're not used to playing sped up. They don't like playing sped up, Minnesota. So, there's a little bit of a clue there about some of the things we can do in strategy next year when we have to face them again, possibly. Because now they've swept us. They've beaten us 3 times this season, and they beat us in the preseason also. So it's really 4-0 for the Lynx against the tempo. There's going to be benchmarks. There's going to be rites of passage. There's going to be times where, it'll feel a little different slightly all of a sudden. And you'll be like, well, this is progress. This is change. This is rebuild. This is building up. This is getting out of the expansion tag into more of a seasoned team over years. It's going to take a while, y'all. It's going to take a while. And I'm not really totally frustrated with the game last night. In some ways, when I see an ugly game like that and a blowout, I don't get upset about this or this situation because of what I just explained. Some people getting all bent out of shape last night. Oh, I can't even watch this. This is horrible. Listen, this is an expansion team. And this is the shit that happens. And people have to realize that. People have to realize that and accept it. It really is like it's funny how fans can be so idealistic and so like positive and they're not really seeing the reality of the situation. This is a team that has 4 championships in their history. This is a team that has the coach that has the most wins in WNBA history. This is a team that has an all-star 5 starting lineup. All 5 of their starters are all-stars. It's not really a good match for us. And, the way we played on Tuesday was admirable. And yes, I gave a lot of kudos to that. But this is more likely to happen more often than what happened on Tuesday, let alone a win by the tempo over Minnesota. It doesn't get any easier, y'all. We now go out west and we have to play later games, 2 games in Golden State against the Valkyries on Sunday and Tuesday. Then we got to go to Portland and play the Fire. Then we got to go to Atlanta again and play Angel Reese in the Dream. And then we got to go to Dallas and see Paige Beckers and the Wings. That's not easy. That's a crazy road trip where we're going to play 4 games against playoff teams and then our expansion cousin, the Portland Fire, which that game is probably the next game that we have a chance to win, to be honest. If we can beat the Valkyries in one of the 2 games in Golden State, I'll be very, very happy. But I'm not expecting it for sure. We've got to understand where we are. Other teams are in full stride, sprinting towards the playoffs right now. And we're a team that's been kind of walking along the whole season, because we have not been able to sprint or be identity sought. In some ways, it's like not even just, normally a team will get an identity in every season. We're trying to find an identity for the first time ever as the first year team. And so it's one thing to like come in and your franchise has been in the league for like 5-10 years and you're trying to find your identity for that season. We're trying to find an identity for the team as a whole, for the beginning of the culture and the expansion team of the Toronto Tempo. And that's a whole other task. And that's in some ways very important to lay the right bricks and foundation of. And that's kind of the task right now. When they asked Skata, Lindsay Dunn and the Hoop, there it is, podcast, they asked her what the goals are for this season, and she said it's really just to kind of set up our culture, to set up how we want to be as a team in our reputation, and what we're going to be like, to set the roots in the setting of it for more to come in the future. This is an orientation year. This is just as much learn the WNBA year for Skata and Conde and Puyi as just as much for the whole entire franchise in the city of Toronto and the country of Canada. So expectations got to be tempered. Realism has to be understood that basketball is not a microwave sport. And even though our culture has everything so fast and ready for you, hot and fresh, doesn't mean basketball championships and basketball success comes that way. And everything in this world, for the most part, if it's really good, takes some time to develop, takes some patience, takes some time to go to new levels over time. And it doesn't happen overnight. That's the thing. I think that this is the biggest thing that it sucks, is that they're training our dopamine brains with algorithms and content and things online to just want instant gratification all the time. It's almost like Pavlov's dog, shit like that experiment. We need to realize that as human beings and reject it and not allow us to have such a weird brain control over short-term instant gratification, manipulating us in certain ways. And you think about it, seriously. So yeah, it's a tough loss last night. I'm not surprised it happened. In some ways, Scotiabank Arena is not our friend. I'm going to say that right now. We've lost twice there. It's a little early, Seymour. I don't take calls before 10. I like to do a half hour first. But if you really want to call, we'll talk to you real quick. Hey, Seymour, I do like to wait till 10 before people call, but I know you're at a different time. So good morning. How are you?
I can wait if you want.
No, we'll go ahead and do this, especially if you're at work and this is a good time for you to call. We'll go ahead and do it now. What's going on, man? How are you doing this morning, Sheriff?
It's all basketball related. I got three kickers for you.
All right, let's do 4, man. Just make up a 4th one, even if let's do 4 quarters. I missed that.
All right. So my first quarter is that player out of Boston. His name is Neemias Queta. Something like that.
Queta. Yeah.
Okay, so he said no to paying $100K a week for training fees from Hakeem Olajuwon. Mind you, notable mentions who do pay that $100K a week training fee. You got Alperen Sengun, you got Giannis, you got Wembanyama. Is $100K a week, which goes to about $400K a month, is that too high of a training fee for off-season training from a legend? Your take.
This is interesting. This is a bit of a curveball as far as the subject all of a sudden. What I would say is, if that's what Olajuwon wants to charge for his time, then he should be able to do that. He is one of the greatest. It's symbolic. Maybe he doesn't want any old jabroni coming to ask him for his tutelage. So he priced it high so that only very top level players would be able to afford to do it. I think that these guys are probably not working with him for a whole month. It may very well be that they're only getting a week with him. I have seen the footage of him with Wemby, with Alperen, and with Giannis. And Keita said he wouldn't pay it. Well, he's smart, but he's also a lower tier paid player, so that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's go. Number 2.
All right. What's your take on these talk? I don't know if you know about it, but did you hear about the whole gambling thing? Like apparently Paige Becker's
in
put down
WNBA,
like $400.
Yeah. This is silly.
What's your take on it?
Well, this is my take. Not knowing all the details for sure, but understanding what the judgment was and what happened. I think that this is one of the cases where in the sports world, everybody's got to tighten up. They can't be like silly, and they don't even need to joke about this. In some ways, people may have been able to joke about betting on stuff or gambling, or even just doing fun little side bets with each other that are private that people don't know about. Like, Kyle Lowry's playing Jimmy Butler, and he says, "I'll bet you that I'm a bet you a case of golf balls if I beat you. If I beat you, I want a case of wine from you." Shit like that. That is all because of the aspect of sports gambling now in today's sports. That is all very not good anymore because it can all be read into. So in some ways, some of the harmlessness of personal bets that are private and people don't see, that are not involving money usually, are really a bad no-no at this point. And I think that they meant well by it. But once again, we live in another thing that's changed is we live in a world of social media where more and more of the private lives are exposed, and they even post this stuff sometimes, but it just sends the wrong message. It was a boneheaded thing to do by the 2 young ladies because in some ways they should know better, but they're not going to get punished. But in some ways, everybody's got to tighten up. Every single athlete in every sport that has any kind of money running through it with sports gambling is going to have to tighten up because all appearances and all things are going to be like sought into and looked at. And, you don't want to even just get any kind of this attention. So, even Alan Graves this summer at Summer League has brought up this, like, I don't drink, I don't party, and I do not gamble. And I never, ever will, because I know that those are the things that the devil will get me off with my path in my walking with God. So this is something that like is a big no-no. If you're an athlete and you like to gamble, you're fucked. You better stop. You're Jonte in your life. That's what I would say. Yeah. So even if it was a little personal thing and they're just goofing around, it's not good for appearances. And I'm not surprised they didn't punish them because they're huge stars and they need to come to the games. But also at the same time, they need to make an example of them and saying, like, don't do this. Don't do this ever.
Right. That's what I was going to ask you next. Okay, so let's say you were commish. Let's say you were the big commish. If, let's say, yeah, they're joking. Let's take it as that they were joking.
They weren't joking. That was a real bet, but...
What type of what would be your example of a punishment? Like a couple games, suspended for the rest of the season? Like what do you think their punishment should be?
I think that with this case, I mean, it's a case by case thing, and in some ways, it's like not just the punishment for these individual players. Now, it's to set the precedent and say, look, this is what happens if you do this. Now, this may be the only warning for any WNBA players right now for this kind of thing happening. And like I said, it's partly because both of these women are all-stars and they're pretty much the marquee attraction for their teams. So it's like you can say, like, we gave Angel and Paige a warning, but the next people that do it, they will get something. Watch.
Okay, but is that a fair precedent to set? Because if you look at society right now, we're sort of living by those rules going forward. The lower class get the whipping, and when the upper class does something, everybody turns a blind eye. No?
Well, once again, I'll repeat something I said in the last couple of days. The veil's being lifted. This has always been the case. It's just that we can see the whole operation of it much more clearly through the inner workings now. This has always been the case where poor people don't play by the same rules in society as rich people. And it's just that we can see it all more clearly now. All of us can. In some ways, they could hide it in society more the way media was. But now with social media and now with cameras everywhere and sharing of information, there's really less and less places to hide if you are, doing stuff that's kind of bad. I agree with you. I think that in some ways this could be a case of that, where you have all-stars, top league players that are going to get slapped on the wrist or just a warning. And well, if a lesser known star or a bench player or role player does this, they'll get hammered. Watch.
Yeah, that sucks, man.
Well,
Sucks,
let's just see how it all goes down first. The NBA is going to have to continue to deal with this regularly. Jonte's just the first one. Malik Beasley's the next one. There's going to be more of this coming, because this is something that will not go away while this gambling, this legalized gambling is happening. This will not go away.
Even when I looked to that interview where I don't know which one it was, but they had Muggsy Bogues sitting on the couch talking. I think he was telling Vince Carter and Tracy, like,
yep.
Oh, at halftime in our days, guys were popping bottles and lighting cigars. And Vince and Tracy, huh?
Yeah, there were players that would smoke cigarettes in the middle of the game at halftime. They would be sitting in the locker room. Vlade Divac used to smoke cigars all the time. Like, that's what Muggsy is talking about in that story. Is like Vlade is always like, he would they basically do the halftime, because halftime was longer then too. They shortened it. They do halftime where he'd go in the back, talk to the coach, listen to what they have to say, and then he'd step outside like employee at a company and have a smoke break. And then he come back into the arena and play the second half.
So that's what I'm saying. Back then, could you imagine the deals, the backdoor deals and gambling that was going on in
for times? For sure. But a lot of that was like, something like Jordan before the game with the Bulls, like, I'll bet you I can hit this trash can with this piece of paper from 20 feet from this side of the room. Or some of it was like, I'll bet you I'll get 20 points on you in the third quarter tonight. And it were personal bets. And it was just kind of like talking shit kind of bets. Maybe it's a bet like, we got to remember the famous story about Tyrone Hill and Charles Oakley, where Charles Oakley punched Tyrone Hill in the face in the middle of a game with us in Philadelphia around that playoff series with Iverson and Carter, because supposedly Tyrone Hill owed Charles Oakley a bunch of money from their gambling that they had been doing behind the scenes personally.
Yeah, you guys are
See, that's the thing. This legalized thing it hurts the players, because in some ways they had a whole thing. But I think without even the gambling being legalized, that the culture of little side bets behind the scenes for players, it was probably going to get in trouble with social media at some point anyway, even without legalizing gambling.
I'm glad you went that route and put into social media. Watch this angle I'm going to throw at you.
Okay.
The name Gilbert Arenas.
Okay.
Gilbert Arenas, his first problem was when he brought some guns to the stadium. But why did he bring the guns to the stadium? Because a player owed him money from betting. Gambling,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He was actually the first one who got caught up in this whole thing. But they didn't go the gambling route with the players at that time. They more just focused on the fact that he brought
firearm
guns to the
stadium.
Now he gets caught up again. He got caught up with the Chauncey and all that.
Yeah. But you know what? He turncoated. He turncoated and sang on them, and he got immunity. He basically snitched. He said, if you don't charge me, I will tell you everything about everybody else. He was one of those guys.
Yeah, it's crazy. Okay, so let's
go to the
last point. I'm not working. It's Friday, so okay, this is just speculations, mind you. We went over this already. We're in different time zones and areas, so we get fed different information.
Yes.
Whatever, right? So what I heard over here is the reason why James Harden has not been signed yet is because there was an incident where Moses Malone Jr., the great Moses Malone, the basketball player, his son was in a nightclub and his son was robbed. In the club. Now, apparently the guys who robbed Moses Malone Jr., they went directly over to James Harden, the area that James Harden was in the club after they robbed him. Now, there's speculations that they're not saying it's directly James Harden who paid the guys for the jewelry, but apparently it would be like an Uncle Dennis, an associate of James Harden, paid money for the jewelry of Moses Malone Jr., And that's why James Harden really got in trouble this summer. And this is why you still haven't seen him get signed yet.
So you think he might be getting criminal charges and that he might be done with his NBA career?
Well, because that's gang affiliation, this and that, robberies and club. It's bad. And plus,
I haven't heard anything about this at all until you just brought it up. So I don't know anything about this story. So I can't really suss through the truth or fiction of it. But if this would make sense, if that's what it is, I mean, that's the thing. Harden's a big name on the free agency market right now, and you'd think he'd be one of the bigger dominoes that would fall. But then again, we also know Harden has been a difficult person in different places, and it could very well be, the other thing we could factor in is, along with the allegations you just talked about, whether they're true or not, is that people are just fed up with this shit. That people are starting to realize, like I've been saying for a couple of years, there's some of these older vets that are absolute dead ends for trying to win with. And it could very well be, even with the Cleveland Cavaliers beating us the first round, that they failed at some point, and everybody in Cleveland realized the whole James disappears in the playoffs, that everybody's like gauging the risk reward with Harden at this point, and they're kind of like, you know what? There's way too much risk for the little reward that's getting from him. So it could very well be that James Harden may be going silently off into the night, and his NBA career is actually over, and we don't even realize it right now.
Because he's been pampered. He's been pampered because he's one of those players who hasn't achieved nothing. He's gotten big contracts throughout his whole career.
He's been very demanding of where he goes and what he wants, and the NBA has bent over backwards to try and to help him. And it may very well be they're sick of this shit. They may be looking at, this is how many teams in how many years, James, and what has worked anywhere, and has it, and some it's really the other teams. It's like, do we want him? No. James Harden's toxic. James Harden is fool's gold. Even if you get him on your team, he's going to be this problem. He's going to be this problem. And even when you get to the highest levels of the playoffs, he disappears.
So he's in a competition with KD for who can get the most team jerseys, it looks like. I swear.
Well, I got something else. I got something I want to talk about that with team jerseys later. But hey, just manufacture a fourth one. Do you have anything on the tempo related that you want to talk about?
The only thing I want to say, Marina Mayberry, she's lit, I love her energy.
Yeah,
like, I think she's the perfect player to represent our city.
Did you see her fit coming into the game last night?
No, I didn't see it.
All right, let me describe it for you. I want to tell you a story. She came in looking like Electric Barbarella. She had this black leather cat suit, like Catwoman. And it had it had all the openings in the right places and all this stuff. And she's coming into Scotiabank because they're playing there last night. And the game's on Peacock. It's not on TSN. It's on nationwide in the States. And I don't know why, but Peacock's got some British guy that does the interviews, the sideline interviews. It's so weird to hear a guy with a British accent trying to talk about American basketball. It's so weird in some ways. It doesn't sound right. It sounds like he should be talking about soccer or some shit like that. So he's interviewing her, and he's literally lusting over her the whole interview. Like, he's literally drooling all over. You look very good today, Marina. And he's like all up on her and shit. And she's kind of flattered, and she's kind of like smiling and stuff like that. But it was kind of creepy. This British guy lecturing over, like being a kind of a perv, man. Let's just put it that way. So that was a weird aspect. But she was dressed like Catwoman, man. Her fit for coming in the game was not a normal fit that nobody's wearing on the street. She looked like she's ready to go to the S&M dominatrix dungeon.
And that's the thing, is because her vibe is so high. Like, she checks the boxes.
Yeah.
She's a great player. She's just great attitude. When you see her, she never looks down or worried or surprised. She's always like upbeat. The only advice I'd give to reporters, when you come into contact with her, you got to just keep it professional with her. At the same time.
Yeah. And the other thing is, I can tell she's got like some foibles and quirks and eccentricities where it's like she can get bored, and she's got a very true personality. Like, she can't put on a facade. She's going to be exactly who she is. And I really love her for that, because some ways I don't like fake. And if she's going to show up and be exactly who she is, no apologies or nothing, then she's got admiration for me. So,
my last one before I get up out of here.
All right, we got overtime.
Who's your Raptors big three for NBA Jam right now, current roster?
From our current roster? Well, and I'm going to give some love to people. Obviously, Scott, who was at the Tempo game last night, by the way. Scott is number one. Of course, he's got to be on that team. I'm not going to put Murray-Boyles on there, even though he's the flavor of the year.
No, Murray-Boyles.
No, I'm not putting him on there. I want RJ and I want Quick. I want those three. That's the team I want on NBA Jam. Yeah. I might even sub out RJ for Yak, just to have a crazy, like, big center out there too. I do want the point guard with Quick, and I do want that stop and pop a Quick, because we know in NBA Jam the 3-point shot's important, and calling 5 on NBA Jam would be the smart thing to do, I think. And along with the all-round is Scotty. Scotty's there for star power and just making the team look good. But I would either pick RJ or Yak. Otherwise, I mean, even I have to consider Kawhi when it's official.
Yeah. For me, it would be Scotty, CMB, and RJ.
Yeah, that's a good three. That's a good three. I even slightly considered Allen Graves for a second, but there still needs to be more exploration of who he is and seeing who he is in the NBA. All right, Seymour. Man, I appreciate the 4 quarters. And some interesting topics you brought me this morning. I hope that things are nice and smooth, TGIF. And, in some ways you get some good time to get shots up.
Oh, yeah. It's still early over here right now. So, I mean, it's just 8 o'clock. So,
right on.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Calgary's out of the playoffs in the CBL. But, man, the CBL playoffs are going crazy. Like, the lead up to the playoffs are going crazy right now. Let me tell you, man.
I'm a little bit pissed with the circus. A personal friend of mine, I'm not going to go into details, but they work with like autism kids and stuff. And they had the gym at the Towsman Center. That's the place where the Surge practice. And apparently they came in, and if you see the kids with autism and stuff playing in there, man, let them get their time and play and stuff. Apparently they came in and kicked everybody out. And the person I know that was there, they said it was very rude in the manner that they came in. They had like security and all this stuff. So I was like, when I heard that, I was like, it's not a good look.
It's not a good look. It could very well be, though, that they had paid a lot of money to get the place for that time, and that was the cutoff or something. You know how those kind of places work with, like, okay, now you got to leave. There's crazy stories about the early Raptors. Like, we had to share our practice facility with one of the universities. And there's crazy stories about in the first years of the Raptors where we were getting kicked off the court, the Toronto Raptors, by like the women's volleyball team for the college that we were sharing the facility with. So that kind of stuff. Yeah. It really is scheduling and who paid for what. And as much as it's like, if they were rightfully paying for that time and to be there, that's the thing. This is a professional league and a professional team. And they need to do this. I mean, trust me, they had a bad year this year. They needed to do this. But I mean, I don't know the true details, but they could have handled it better, probably. What's that?
You know what I mean? I'm saying at least do something to boost the morality of the season. Give a little kid a T-shirt or something. At least sign a shirt or sign.
Who knows? Maybe they are doing some of that stuff in other areas and stuff. But it sounds like your friend had a real bad experience with them, and that's too bad. Maybe in some ways somebody needs to bring this to attention to Calgary Surge, and maybe they can do something about it to kind of rectify it. So
that is crazy right now, man.
Yeah, man. All right, bro. I'm gonna let you go because I want to get back and I want to do stars of the game and all that other stuff for reacting to the Tempo's loss last night.
All right, cheers.
Yeah, man. Yeah. All right. Seymour Pate, the sheriff, the city slicker, who's out west in Alberta. That's right. We are cross Canada in this show right here. That's right. We are cross Canada. All right. Let me go ahead and read some of y'all's comments on here. Trevor J., the commissioner of fun. Thank you, sir. Life is going to happen if you're ready or not. Bad days, good days, setbacks, wins. They're all part of it. The part you control is what comes next. You can't let it break you, or you can let it build you, or choosing to grow through it. Yeah, the future is unknown to a degree, but we can all analyze and figure out things that we can control and kind of build and try and set up, and that empowers you, and that makes you have self-esteem and feel good because you're building something. Now, there's a lot of things that are going to be out of our control, but we can try and micro control things that are around us. And I'm telling you right now, there will be things that everybody's going to hate, and we're all going to have to get together, and we're going to have to be a collective, and we're going to have to use our energy together. I'm telling you right now. So be ready for that. You will know the call. You will feel it in your bones. You will hear it, and you will be ready. I know you will. There's a lot of people understanding more and more what I'm talking about. I'm not trying to be specific. I can, but I'll tell you just in general, humanity is going to need to come together and get our shit together if we're going to survive some of the shit that they're going to try and throw at us in the near future. So be ready for that. Blessings to the Jones family, all the Raptor Freak families. That's right. Trevor's saying this: the tempo played in the first quarter and just disappeared after 4 the rest of the game last night. I thought that there were pockets where they played okay. One of the things I want to say is that their defense is really good when it is right. Like in the first quarter, they did a really good job kind of staying up on them. And one particular improvement from Tuesday to Thursday, which there weren't a whole lot, if you ask me, but yeah, with the score, was that Yaskeda and a couple of the other bigs in the tempo were holding Natasha Howard back better, way better last night than on Tuesday. On Tuesday, Natasha Howard did whatever the fuck she wanted to near the basket. She just pushed people and went and made baskets. But there was a really good collective low post defense between Conde, Yaskeda, Sabali, and Fagbenle that was actually somewhat effective at holding off the Lynx's interior offense. That not Howard specifically was stopped a few times by really good defense and fronting and doubles and triples. But then also Collier was stopped in some ways too. So there were some improvements in little things and stuff. There were pockets where they played okay, but once again, we're seeing trouble areas of the game, and that's really kind of the second quarter and after halftime. Those are times where the team's falling apart and the wagon wheels come off the wagon. Yeah, the second quarter, and then coming back from halftime, they're not coming back with the right energy to match the other team. The other team's getting energized. The other team, and this goes back to what I was talking about the differences between the tempo where they are in this season and the Lynx and where they are in this season is, Coach Reeve and the Lynx can go to halftime and they can do some very in-depth kind of Darko adjustments like the Raptors would. And one of the big secrets for the Toronto Raptors this season was coming back after the halftime and blowing the other team out in the third quarter. Well, that we could say this is happening in the matchups with the Lynx this week because Cheryl Reeve's a good coach and she can look at everything that happened in the first half and make adjustments. And because her team's a veteran team that's been together for a long time and a true playoff championship contender, they can execute it. And that is part of why we're falling flat in the third quarter. We can blame ourselves and say we just suck and we're not playing good with a lot of turnovers and shit like that. But let's be honest. What's happening is the Lynx are going to halftime. They're getting their breather. They're understanding the game plan. They're making much more in-depth and advanced adjustments, and they're executing on them flawlessly. And it's stuff that they see. Like some of it is the stuff where they were taking our lazy Euro passes around the horn. The most annoying turnovers last night are when we're trying to move the ball around the three-point line and we're throwing these passes and somebody just runs in and grabs it and Kayla McBride's running down the court to get a layup. That is something that has to stop. And this has happened for a couple months now on the team. In some ways, I was talking about it on Discord last night. It's because in the Europe game, there's not as many super fast, ultra talented athletes over there that will run and sprint into the passing lanes like this. So players like Conde and Yaskeda can get away with these lazy around the horn passes, but they're getting picked. And in some ways, this is the scouting report on us is look, watch, their Euros may pass it real lazy around the edges and you guys can jump on the ball and run the other way. That's in the scouting report right now. And that's something they're trying to work on with them. They have to really realize there was a mix of passing with the tempo yesterday that was absolutely dreadful and horrible, all the way up to a fantastic, crazy ass lofted pass to from Conde to Fagbenle, where she gets this amazing layup in stride because it's just the right height over the defense, and Temi can grab it and lay it up. So there's a spectrum. There's a spectrum of really poor, weak ass passes. They're getting picked off and run back for a transition basket. And then there's these ultra really good passes, like shit like Marina Mabry passing through traffic up the court for Niara Sabali to get a layup. Stuff like that that's happened this season too. So that's a big area right there. The unforced turnovers are a huge problem. There's a mix of them. We cut down on the travels. The Euros were traveling a lot in the beginning, but they had to adjust their dribbles and understand that you can't do this here, but you can over there. That's a big part of this. Is not only are we doing the adjustments and learning as a new team, we've got two very important players that are starting for us right now that are European and they're older, and they are still kind of playing in styles that are okay in Europe, but not in WNBA. And some of that is the adjustment. And it's tough for them. It's tough for Maria and Laura to kind of figure out, changing their styles. Even, they're older. They've got a certain style that they played overseas, and it's got to be adjusted here. So there's a learning curve with that, along with just being rookies or learning North American basketball. So there's a lot to this. In some ways, Sandy was mad after the game because she felt like we kind of gave up at a certain point, and we did. But it's can you blame them? In some ways, they get tired and they're getting run off the court. And the Lynx are strong. The Lynx are united. The Lynx are connected. The Lynx are dialed in with each other, and they really know each other. In fact, the Lynx took different turns, taking us apart. It's like all five of their starters did amazing things at different times, but they were all very balanced. There wasn't like one juggernaut that got like 30 points. No, nobody got over 20 on the Lynx, and they all contributed as a team. And in fact, Cheryl Reeves said after the game that she gave the game ball to the bench because the bench came in and did excellent stuff right up until the final horn. And, she said 34 points from the bench last night is fantastic. And she gave the game ball to the bench, not even to any of the starters, not to Courtney Williams, not to Kayla McBride, not to Nafisa Collier, not to Olivia Miles. No, she gave the game ball to the bench last night because she really looked at last night's game against the Tempo as a full team effort that she was super proud of. So that's what I'm saying. They're fine-tuning shit with their bench. We're just trying to get a good starting lineup that'll actually like produce points in it. Because seriously, we only had 3 players in double digits last night. And we got some dead notes on the piano that are just not stepping up and producing. That there's stages to this. We got to get to the point where we can just get a steady starting 5. They've got a way steady starting 5, this all-stars, and they're working on the finer ends of their bench all the way up to 10. There's differences here. We've got to all understand this. There's differences here, Trevor's saying the Tempo attendance last night was 19,000 plus. Yeah, it's good. I saw on the screen that there were people upstairs. That's really the sign of it. It's like, all right, I'm going to talk about something real quick. Let's do the Redditor of the day for the Tempo real quick right now. And this is Frank's 2,000-inch TV. That's a big TV. So yeah, Frank's 2,000-inch TV is asking this on Reddit yesterday on Toronto Tempo Reddit. What's going on with the lines? Never been to an event this insane. It's tip-off time, and the lines are barely moving. All right, this is something, and I might go a little conspiracy theory right here. What happened yesterday at Scotiabank Arena is sometimes in the off season, they're doing renovations. And, the Union Station just had a huge overhaul in the last couple of years of renovating that whole entire station, the train station. And it's caused all kinds of weird passageways and made it into a labyrinth. And you kind of had to go directed here, directed there. Well, they're doing a lot of work on the connection between the subway to Scotiabank Arena, and gate 1 was absolutely closed last night. And this, if you don't know the arena and its layout, gate 1 is the big, huge gate that everybody comes into directly from the subway station. Well, that was absolutely closed yesterday. And I don't know if this is Rogers trying to screw with the tempo or some bullshit like that, because it smacks of it. It smacks of it. In some ways, we know Rogers being in charge of MLSE, he didn't want tempo. And in some ways, even though he's allowing them to come play there and renting the building to them, and I have no idea what the tempo have to pay to do Scotiabank games. And it could very well be Ed Rogers is greedy and he's taking a big slice of the tempo's profits just so they can play in the Scotiabank Arena. Well, did he time having gate 1 closed immediately on one of the games that are huge that they're coming for? Probably. So I would tell people this in general anyway. And I'm an old basketball head and I just enjoy doing this myself. Go to games early. If you're trying to show up at a game right when it tips off, you're a fucking idiot. The doors open an hour before the game on purpose. And I'm always there waiting before the doors even open to walk into basketball games that I go to. I plan ahead. I get there. I know some people work and they got to rush and get there and all this stuff. But don't be showing up, especially when a game's at 8, just before 8 o'clock. That's foolishness. There should be a rule in Toronto people. You know that you got to give yourself a half hour on everything, wherever you go, every single place. You're going to be late and you're not going to make it on time. On camera, it didn't look good at the beginning of the game because of this issue that the fans were not getting into the arena quickly because gate 1 was closed and they were not filing in and coming through fast. If y'all showed up right before the game, you're a fool. Stop doing that. Come to the game at 7 if it's at 8. Come to the game at 6 if it's at 7. And then you'll be in there for like 45 minutes. You can go and get merchandise. You can go to the bathroom. You can go get food. You can go and sit in the arena and take in the ambiance and the atmosphere and kind of see who's out there practicing or shooting around, get the feel. Don't show up right at the end when the game's coming on. That's your own damn fault. That's your own damn fault, you know? But yeah, I have a theory about gate 1 last night, and it's Ed Rogers continuing to try and fuck with the Toronto tempo. Yeah, Scotiabank has not been nice to the tempo so far. They should have won the first game at Scotiabank Arena ever, but Marina had to sit out because of her neck. And that's fucking set a tone. We have not won in that building yet. And in some ways, I don't know if the big hugeness of it, what is it? I mean, we did win in Bell Center in Montreal against the Liberty. So it's not a big arena, What is it? Why, you guys are going to get one more chance at Scotiabank Arena next month, and it'll be against the Fever on August the 18th. And that game will be tough to win, but can you win at least one game in Scotiabank Arena this year? It's too bad. I mean, in some ways, both the games at Scotiabank so far this year have been disappointments and letdowns. The first one was a close game that we just barely lost, the Phoenix Mercury. And then the one last night was a 32-point blowout to the Minnesota Lynx. So, yeah, it's interesting stuff with that arena. And, well, the chances to see the tempo in Toronto are dwindling. There's only 3 home games at home anymore. There's 2 at Coca-Cola in September. And then there's that game I just mentioned on the 18th against Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever at the Scotiabank Arena. Yeah, the big arena is nice. In fact, it was cool. Scotty was at the game last night, sitting in the seats where, Alyssa and his daughter usually sit near the tempo bench. And it's good to see him supporting our WNBA team. He was there with Jay Simpson, his buddy from Florida State, that he played basketball with at Florida State the year he was there. And, he said on his Twitch earlier this summer, he was going to try and get to a tempo game. And, well, he did. He did last night. Unfortunately, it was a huge blowout. But you know what? I'll tell you this. Scotty understands. He's a basketball genius. He understands the culture and way basketball works. And it might be very interesting to him to see a first-year team like the Tempo against a long-standing top team like the Lynx and read through it and look at it all from a basketball perspective and seeing what's going on. I mean, Scotty's had a varied NBA career so far with different coaches and different things that are happening that year, making the playoffs, not making the playoffs, weird shit with Nick Nurse, starting out with Darko. There's a lot of different years for Scotty so far in his 5 years in the NBA. So he can probably relate to some of the things going on. And man, it'd be interesting to hear what he has to say about what he saw at the game last night. It would be interesting to hear what he has to say. Yeah. Yeah. Mr. Greg is here. Good morning, everyone. Good morning to you, Mr. Greg. Hope that you're doing very well this Friday morning. We looked good early, but then the game went downhill quickly in the second half. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we were kind of hanging with them still in the second quarter. At halftime, the score was but we still had a chance to come back and get them. But that's part of what Cheryl Reed probably told her team is like, just put the nails in the coffin for them. Don't have any mercy. Go out there and we're gonna pick them apart. And like I said, it was like the main Lynx players took their turns kind of destroying us. You had Collier do more offensively in this game than the last one, as far as trying to do some interior back to the basket offense in the post. You had Howard trying to do what they did before in the first game, but not as successful. Caleb McBride, intense defense, really tying up Marina and just really taking the ball and stealing it a lot, and then making threes when she's open. Courtney Williams playing extremely good defense also. And she started hitting that little shot. She has that spot next to the free throw line to the side, and she started hitting that shot in the second half and kind of picking us apart with that. And then Olivia Miles, who's kind of like her poison last night for us was going to the basket, driving fast, and making these swooping layups. Tuesday it was making threes, so she switched it up for this one. And we even got this was the worst. Dorka come out and played really good, really, really good. Dorka had her best game since she came back, and she played really good on defense and rebounding. And then she hit 4 threes, which was huge too for them. And then Delaire even came in and said, "Hey, remember me from the last game? Here, I'll remind you. Here's a little 3 here from me too." And then you add in, like, this is why I think the Lynx are going to win the championship this year. You add in these role players off the bench and Coffee and Caldwell that are just physical grit, toughness, and they kind of come out there and are shit disturbers. In some ways, they're a little bit of Dylan Brooks, where they're just going to be physical and annoy people. They may not score or do a whole lot, but they're just all up in your face. Cheryl Reeve talked about it after the game, talking about Caldwell, saying we just want her to add value, people to add value. You don't have to score. You don't have to do this, do that. You have to come out and contribute and add value to what we're trying to do in the game. And in some ways, the value you get from Caldwell and Coffee is just annoying people and physicality. I mean, another thing that happened in the game last night that I noticed that was kind of annoying and pissing me off was our tempo players kept getting hit in the face. We had at least 4 tempo players get smacked in the face or in the throat during the game, and they went down, and a couple of them looked like they were about to cry because it hurt so bad. We saw Niara get hit in the face. That's normal. We saw Marina get hit in the face multiple times. We saw Maria get hit in the face early in the game. And we saw Laura also get hit in the face at some point during the game. So in some ways, look, the Lynx are so advanced, they're playing at a high level, and they're also doing the little side mission. Let's try and hit the tempo in the face and mess them up a little bit. That's just a sign of how physical they are. And maybe they are doing a little bit of dirty tricks and keeping their hands a little bit too high up near the face and shoulder area. Yeah, some of that shit was on purpose. Some of it was accidental, but some of that shit hitting people in the face was on purpose. And in some ways, it's like that was flustering the tempo. Marina had to come out of the game after a karate chop from Kayla McBride, but then she came back in the game and hit a 3 right after that. But yeah, it's a physical game, and in some ways, we're taking our lumps and taking our routes right now. It's tough. Blackhawk is here. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy to see Blackhawk in the chat. Blackhawk has been missing for 2 weeks because he was shadow banned, and I didn't even know this. Trevor, this is why you're not a moderator anymore, because you butt dialed Blackhawk off my channel for the last month, and I didn't even know it until he sent me a text on my personal phone number, and I reinstated him. I can't have this happen. I can't have people pocket dialing and banning people from my channel just weirdly like that. So in some ways, I've cut down my moderator team to very few. In fact, at this point, I don't even know if I need moderators because I'll moderate it through the chat and just sitting here and stuff like that. So don't take an offense to that, Trevor. You were not the only one I took the moderator role from. I wanted to decrease the number because I want to lessen the chance that people are getting butt banned from this channel. That sounds bad, butt banned. I know you didn't do it on purpose, and I know you didn't mean to do it, but you did do it. And Neil's been missing from my channel for 2 weeks because of it. But he's back, and there's the fox. That's right. You know, that fox makes me think of Vancouver Bandits at this point. Is that what that is? Blackhawk, the Vancouver Bandits, or is it the fox in my yard that's always coming in here and eating my squirrels? Yeah, I'm actually happy about it. I like when the fox appears in my yard and it's got a squirrel in its mouth because squirrels are annoying to a degree, and there's enough of them. So it's just like the ecosystem. Yeah, and if the fox is eating mice or other stuff like that, just don't eat the bunnies. I like the bunnies, okay? Infamous is saying this, salute freaks. With me, it's not about the loss, it's about the effort. See, that could be part of why Sandy was pissed because the effort did drop off. It was deflation, and that's natural. I mean, we've got to understand this is a long season. And like Yescada said, they're overplaying in a way, like for how many minutes? They were not expecting to play Laura Yescada this many minutes this year. In some ways, the absences and the injuries have really put a huge workload of minutes on players like Conde and Yescada. You know, Marina too. You know, they're playing way more minutes. And I forgive them for being exhausted at a certain point in a blowout like this, where it's just kind of like, oh, you know, the Raptors are very special in the way that they can keep fighting when they're routed and they're down and they just keep coming. And they keep, you know, that's something you have to build. That's a culture once again. That's something you have to build. In some ways, they have to go through these moments and say, well, y'all gave up. Yeah, what do you expect? We're exhausted. We're overmatched. And we're not feeling totally right because we're a little bit hurt too. What do you expect? You know, to build that culture up over years takes time, and it's coming. And Sandy is going to harp on them, and she's going to hold a standard for them, and they will listen and they will try their best, and the outcomes will get better over time. But yeah, I get what you're saying. The effort dropped off for sure. It did. Yeah, I think the effort kind of dissipated in the second half. Yeah. Yeah. Neil's saying this. Even though we lost the game, the energy in Scotiabank was great. Did you go to the game? Were you at the game? If you were at the game, let me know your firsthand account. Infamous is saying all part of the growing pains. Like I said, it was either going to be a close or a blowout. That's exactly what we said on the phone yesterday. And the blowout happened instead. Honestly, if you had told me the percentages of what it was likely, it's way more likely it was going to be a blowout than a close tempo win. That basically would have to replicate what happened in the first quarter all the way through the game and just barely have luck to get the right score at the end. But that's not likely because you go to certain stages. All right, if it's a close game and you're against a team with that kind of experience and that kind of firepower, well, they're probably going to beat you when it's really close within 5 at the end of the game, right? Because they have the knowledge and the experience, you know. And even in the first quarter, I thought we were playing sensationally. We had like a pretty good lead, a 9-point lead at one point. Then all of a sudden, it seemed like it was easy for them to just catch up with us. And we were working so hard just to get that goodness in the first quarter. And it's like, then all of a sudden it was tied at the end of the first quarter. I'm like, wow, we worked so hard in that quarter. We played well, but now it's not even like we don't even have a lead at the end of the first quarter. I think we were winning by 1 at the end of the first quarter because Yescada hit a last second shot that put us up. And, you know, I was like, wow, we put a lot of energy and effort out there just to be up by 1. And it seems like the Lynx just cruised to coming back and eating up our lead in the first quarter. So it's like, this is going to be a long game. That's what I told myself at that point. Yeah, that's what I told myself. Infamous saying this, I enjoy Kiki playing, but I'm noticing a bad habit of her telegraphing her passes sometimes, something that can easily be worked on. The thing with Kiki right now, and Sandy made it very clear in the pregame and postgame interviews, is she's trying to find her rhythm. Her offense is off right now. There were some shots that she was taking last night she's going to make normally, but she's just not in rhythm yet, and she's coming back, right? So that'll get cleaned up. In some ways, there's been an effect of Rice being back in the last 2 games of stabilization in certain areas. Like our defense is better with her out there. And also, in some ways, we're less chaotic, even though you wouldn't have been able to tell that in the second half last night. But her offense has not come around yet. In fact, if you think about the beginning of the season, Kiki had her first game and she didn't even score in her first game ever because she was so nervous. And then everybody told her, be confident. You're great. You're a first round pick. You're really good. You're a champion with UCLA. And she got that confidence and she came out and then she went on her tear where she showed very high level excellence right away. And everyone's like, wow, Kiki Rice, Kiki Rice, Kiki Rice. So in some ways, with this big period of being out and coming back, she's kind of got to go through the stuff she went through at the beginning of the season again. She'll score a little bit and she's a little bit more ahead in advance, but she's got to get her rhythm. Her offensive rhythm is off. And Sandy wants her to get it back as soon as possible because she's saying, I want her to shoot over and over again. I want her to just shoot, 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 shoot. I don't care if she's missing right now. I don't care if she's missing. She's got to shoot to get back on track, to get back to her rhythm. So that's what she's saying with that. Yeah, the telegraph thing, I think this is just something that's a problem for all of the tempo right now. That they're, Marina makes dangerous passes sometimes that I don't agree with. The Euros make soft passes. Even Julie, who's a really good passer, has had some bad passes at times in recent games. So it's a collective. They all need to tighten up and protect against turnovers. That's the big thing right there. Yeah, Isaac Campbell's here. Good morning to Isaac Campbell, the benevolent one, holding it down in the nation's capital of Ottawa. An NBA study looked at 19 players who tore their Achilles, and the study notes there was an increase in minutes over the last 10 games played that preceded their injuries. Happy Friday. Wow. Isn't he Mr. Sunshine? I mean, that makes sense. That's why it's dangerous to run on a short roster. That's why it's dangerous to overplay your players, Nick Nurse. That's why you need a full complement of a rotation. And having a short rotation, I've never agreed with, especially for a long haul season, because it's true. The more you work, the more you have exhaustion, the more you're playing a lot of minutes, the more apt you may be to being injured. That's just true. Your body is tired, it's strained, it's stressed, it's more likely to break down, and you don't want that. So that's why having depth, that's why Cheryl Reeve doesn't play her starters right up until the end of the game. And she puts out all of her bench in the fourth quarter so that she can get them run and get some rest for her starters. That's a luxury. In some ways, to compete and stay at the highest level, can we just put out Tima and Tiani and Kia and all them? No, because we got to compete. We're going to have our very best players out there at this point in the Tempo's franchise history. So that's a luxury in some ways to be able to rest your players. If you want to have a competitive team, you have to play them. In some ways, this was Nick Nurse's conundrum in the years around Tampa and Malachi Flynn and Precious off our bench, is he didn't trust our bench. So he started overplaying OG, Fred, and Pascal. And that shot us in the foot in a couple different ways. That's the problem. That's why in some ways I'm giving a hard time to Monica Wright-Rogers, because you've got to have the proper depth at all the positions, especially bigs for you guys. Now, speaking of that, there is an article on ESPN that I do want to talk about because we're mentioned in it, and it is about the free agency or the trade deadline. 5 players to watch ahead of August the 2nd's WNBA trade deadline. And this is by Michael Vopel. Of course, Kelsey Plum's on here, and they're talking about that. But there's 2 players that are talked about on here that they mentioned Toronto about. And the one that they're really talking about, and it's not Cameron Brink in LA, it's Anissa Morrow. Anissa Morrow of the Connecticut Sun is a forward, and she's averaging almost a double-double. She's got good rebounding stats, and it's really sounding like this may happen because a lot of the ESPN experts and even this ESPN article saying that the fit in Toronto with her is really good. This is what they said exactly, where she could fit. The Toronto Tempo have dealt with injuries and inconsistent production in the post and could potentially use a player such as Morrow, who has 2 more seasons on a rookie contract. The Tempo ranked 13th in rebounding Their top rebounder is 32-year-old Isabel Harrison, who has played 16 games and is averaging 6.4 rebounds. So this is a real serious possibility. The noise about Anissa Morrow becoming a tempo are real. She's a teammate of Marina's from Connecticut last year. So there's some familiarity there. Either way, just having a more caliber starter that's got some pretty good stats and scoring and is a big is smart. And I don't know how they'll acquire her. If she's on a rookie contract still, that means that her price may be pretty good and we can figure it out. So we'll have to see. This if this is going to happen, it's going to happen by Sunday. So it should happen in the next couple of days. The other name that is on the list that people are saying could happen here is Maddie Siegrist of the Dallas Wings. I know we were talking about Elena Smith with Infamous on the call yesterday, but ESPN's talking about Maddie, and they did mention that Toronto is a potential place that she could be going to. That we may be interested in her as a forward. She's now more of a shooting kind of forward than like a big forward that goes inside and kind of muscles people. But she probably has a little bit of a turnaround post game. So yeah, what do y'all think about Morrow and Siegrist as far as the suggestions of add-ons to the tempo for the stretch run at the end? Could very well be that they're solid players for a rotation in the future, one of them, and that we add one of them soon. We'll have to see. But that's something I wanted to talk about there real quick on the ESPN article there. Let's see. Happy Friday to Isaac. Blackhawks saying Tempo was playing against a lot of length last night. Well, that's the thing. The rich are so rich in the Lynx. You've got two post players that are all-star quality that are absolutely dominant in Collier and Howard. You can't mess with them. You can't mess with them. They're like a double trouble. We don't even have one of those kind of players. Both of their bigs are like that. Both of their bigs are that level. They could both be all MVPs of the league. That's how good their front court is. It's really crazy. Let's see. Trevor's saying this. Tempo is at number 10 in the league for attendance. Yeah, all is forgiven. All right, Neil. Yeah, sorry for the confusion. And I appreciate you reaching out to see what was going on. Yeah, it's so dumb. The problem is that this has happened like 3 times this year. And that's why I had to cut down on the moderation powers. And it wasn't just Trevor that's done it. There's a couple of people that have been moderators that have done it. And I've taken their moderation powers away too. So it wasn't just Trevor that got his moderator taken away. In some ways, I don't need a lot of moderators. I left Isaac because Isaac's not here all the time. I trust his judgment. And in some ways, and Fiercey's still a moderator too, but that's partly because she's a sheriff on this channel. And she has to hold up some qualities for our channel as far as respect for women. Anybody's disrespecting women, Fiercey's allowed to moderate on them. That's right. All right, let's see. Smooth saying this. Good morning to Smooth. Ramona Shelburne said some stuff yesterday regarding Kawhi, and that set people off online yesterday. All right, yeah, that's actually my Redditor of the day. Honestly, I'm gonna go look at this. This is funny. All right, this is what it is. All right, Ramona Shelburne was on the NBA Today with the panel. And yesterday she said the Toronto Raptors have given zero indication that they want to back out of the Kawhi Leonard trade. That's basically all she said. And people I don't know why they're flipping out or why they would, because, this sounds like Bobby understands what's going to happen and we're all on course and everything's going to be fine. Why were people flipping out about what Ramona said? I think people are just flipping out in general about the situation with Kawhi, and they're just impatient and they're just nephewing out. I think that's what it is. It's not any different than the initial reaction. It's ongoing. And that's why it's exhausting. And I'm like, why even participate? Why not just go away from it and just do a hobby for something? It's summertime. Get outside, get in the sun, touch grass, and stop obsessing about Kawhi and everything that's going on right now. Let it alone. Let it work out. Once again, this is the phenomenon I was talking about at the beginning of the stream with instant gratification and everybody wanting everything to happen so fast because we're getting trained like that by fucking evil people at the top to have this weird mind where everything has to happen right away. No. It used to take people a year to write a book, but now AI can make you a book in seconds. That's indicative of the problem here. So let's all be patient. Once again, I'll give the advice. Nephews, casuals, and Raptors Nation, they're still falling out over the Kawhi situation. Go fucking to the beach. Go take a long walk. Go start a new hobby. Go pick up the basketball yourself, like Kaloy and Isaac and Seymour, and go and fucking shoot some shots. Just do whatever you need to take your mind off of it. If you're obsessing about the Kawhi Leonard aspiration scandal 24/7, like your CNN news, you're not fucking living your life right. I'll just say that right now. That's what I'll say right now. Well, I did a very good job yesterday. For an hour, I talked about this whole situation and where we're at with it, and I think I laid it out pretty clear about what's going to happen and what's coming up and what's going to be going down. It may be a curveball, there may be something different than what I say, but I think I've got a pretty good idea about what's happening. And if you want to know what I said, you can watch my stream yesterday at about the 26-minute mark, and you can hear me lay it all out. And it's for about an hour. I talk about everything that has to do with Kawhi and everything I think is going to happen in the timeline. It will happen. That's right. Blackhawks saying this. I was at the game with Deb. So you did go to the game. That's awesome. We had a great time. Good entertainment in between timeouts. Yeah, Carnival game. I hope that they had good festivities. You know, in some ways, I wonder if like Scotiabank is actually putting out the same kind of energy for the tempo games as they do Raptors. Raptors game is an event. Raptors game is borderline Monday Night Raw with all the dark fireworks and the excitement and the buzz. In some ways, I'm wondering if they're using all the bells and whistles for when the tempo were there. Because even when they were doing the starting lineups, did they bring the lights down for them to introduce them or do anything like that? I was wondering. I was trying to pay attention to it, but I couldn't tell through the broadcast of Peacock. Also, I want to say the Peacock announcer's horrible. Absolutely horrible. Both of them. And once again, they're holding this whole, I think that these nationally televised games they're putting on down the States right now for the tempo are to teach people to disrespect the tempo because they were very, very disrespectful to our team last night, making little catty jokes about our futility and how we were overmatched. And I just want to say a big two-finger salute to the Peacock announcing team that was announcing the Tempo Lynx game last night. You're fucking assholes. And in some ways, you're symbolic of ugly Americans. And also, you're trying to train the American public, I can tell, to not respect the Tempo franchise. And I understand. You can say, well, why should we respect you? Y'all are losers. You lost like you got routed and stuff like that. Look, there's a certain way of covering the whole league where you treat each team equally. And in some ways, we understand as Raptors fans that doesn't happen in the NBA. And the signs are starting to show. I was hoping it would be different with the WNBA, that the American broadcast partners, when they are dealing with Toronto, are going to do the same thing to the tempo that they do the Raptors. And the broadcast last night very much showed that. Yeah, fuck you, Peacock. And in fact, your announced team is low grade shitty. Seriously, they're not good at their jobs. They didn't know what the fuck they were talking about half the time. They weren't even calling the game. They were joking around and talking about frivolous shit instead of talking about the game. There could have been an amazing play that one of the tempo made, and they had absolutely ignored it and didn't talk shit about it and anything. They were busy talking about other shit. And then, of course, in the in-betweens, like halftime, pre-game show, post-game, they're real quick to get right away from anything talking about Toronto tempo. In fact, the halftime show was more about the next game against the Aces and the Liberty. And they were hyping that up more instead. Yeah, I get it. TV's going to do it this kind of way. But I was really kind of hoping that the WNBA and the way it is with this community, and it's a big family, that we'd get a better shake with the tempo than we do with the Raptors. But I'm slowly but surely, as the course of the season coming through, realizing that the American broadcast partners are going to slight us and be full of shit just like they are towards the Raptors. So once again, big, huge two-finger salute to the Peacock announced team last night. I don't even know your names. I don't give a shit. You sucked. And honestly, that British guy, he's unprofessional and he's shitty at his job too. Kayla Gray, you're cool. I like you. But why the fuck were you in Las Vegas last night instead of Toronto? That's what I would say. Why wouldn't you let the Canadian girl come home and cover the game in Scotiabank Arena where she's usually at when she's covering the Raptors? Huh? WNBA? You made her go to Las Vegas? Come on now. We want Kayla to come home and cover the tempo. Peacock. You fucking pieces of shit, Amazon motherfuckers, and NBC. That's right. They're whatever, Peacock Prime, whatever the shit is. I guess I'm going off on Amazon Prime, not Peacock. I don't even care. They're the same. They're the same. Let's see. Trevor J saying this, Blackhawk, forgive me, man. I didn't know I did that. And Lex, I have no problem with that. I'm happy, so I'm not going to get to blame. All right. Yeah. This is good because your role in some ways on this channel, it's not totally necessary for you to mod. And you're doing such a good job for me in the things that you do as far as information retrieval and also setting up my stream. That you're doing such a good job with that. You don't need that power, and it's only going to cause trouble, I guess. So it's good. I'm glad you're okay with it. And like I said, there were about 3 or 4 of y'all that I took mods from. I think there's only like 3 mods now. I think there's only like 3, and it's Sheriff, Seymour, it's Isaac, and Fiercey. I think those are like my only 3 mods at this point. And it's really because Sheriff. And Isaac is long time, and Fiercey has got that role I just described a little while ago. Yeah, and it's no hard feelings. Neil was just kind of thinking like I had banned him or something. I'm like, no, man, I didn't ban you. I'd actually wondering where the hell you been. I was like, Blackhawk mad at me? He hasn't been on the show for a while. I was like wondering that. Actually. Let's see. Medved Ted's here. Good morning, Medved Ted. And thank you to everybody who supports this channel. Trevor, Ted, Blackhawk, Fiercey, everybody who's got the little raptor symbol next to your name. Medved Ted saying Pablo Torre released another Kawhi video. Haven't watched it yet. Man, this guy can't stop beating a dead horse. If he continues this like this, Raptors might just back out of the deal altogether. People that were talking about that option, and I did talk about it at length yesterday, are making it sound so bad in the first place. This is what I want to say to people right now. All right. The Raptors are going to be fine next season no matter what happens. Because look, we were already on a certain course with Brandon and Grady still on our team that we're going to grow and get to another stage this year, whether or not Kawhi comes to our team. Let's say hypothetically that this shit gets so ugly and fucked up that they do have to void the trade and that we have Brandon and Grady back on our team. It's not a bad thing. Brandon Ingram is still Brandon Ingram, and he can still do what he did for us last year. And we can just continue on the path with the crew that we had from last year. And we will be growing and getting better too. Sure, it's not exactly the needle pusher, big jump and leap of what a Leonard coming in would be, but it's still building and growing off of the things that we were successful with last year. So either way, we're going to be fine. There's no reality or outcome where we get screwed and we don't have either Brandon or Kawhi on our team. There's no reality like that. So either way, if we look at it and we really think about it, we continue down the path with Ingram still because this shit gets all fucked up because Kawhi is a criminal. And then he has to stay in the Clippers, and that's a disaster for Steve Ballmer right there. Or we get Leonard. So either way, we're winning, guys. All this negative ninny, doomsday, chicken littling about this Kawhi shit is silly because we're going to win either way. If we have to keep the guys that we had and we don't make this trade go through, we're going to be fine. Ingram's amazing. He's a really good player. And we were working towards something and moving up with him on our team. So that's the thing I don't get about this whole thing. If you sort through it and think about it, every single outcome is good for the Raptors. There's not an outcome that happens where it's bad for us. And if there is an outcome that is bad for us, like I said yesterday, you will see me melt down and freak out on the NBA and the bullshit that is decided if it is anything unfair towards us. Everything's supposed to be on the up and up. We shouldn't be punished for this because we didn't do anything wrong. We're going to be fine either way, whether we are starting with Brandon Ingram at small forward or Kawhi Leonard. We're going to be fine either way. That's the thing I would tell people right now. That's the whole thing right there. If we back out of the deal altogether, so what? That's going to hurt the Clippers 100 and million times more than us. In fact, that may be the money that they have to pay. I don't know how much they're going to make them pay. Neil's saying, don't sweat it, Trevor. It was an amusing experience. The tech guy in me had the troubleshooting the system and rewatching previous broadcasts. See, he was coming in and watching the show while he was banned, and he was trying to comment. He was writing them in. He's like, whoa, that didn't go through. Lex didn't read my comment. What's going on? It's like he's watching us. He's here, but he can't talk to us. It's like he's a ghost. And well, we figured it out. I appreciate you, Neil. Neil has my personal phone number. So he was texting me after the show yesterday, say, Lex, I can't get my comments through. What's going on? I was like, wait, whoa, wait. Because I remembered about a month ago that Trevor had deleted all your messages by accident at the end of one of the streams, but he had actually gone and banned you and like kicked you off the channel. So I went in and I looked on the YouTube at all the names that are banned from this channel, and there was Blackhawk on the list. I was like, oh, Blackhawk is on the list. So I just unbanned you, and we're good. We're good. Yeah, it's silly. This is something that can happen. It's happened before. There's been a couple of people that were banned accidentally, and then I circled back and I unbanned them. Like, I don't even know how that happened. I don't even know how that happened. People slip their hands on, or they hit something on the keyboard or something like that, and somebody gets banned by accident all of a sudden. It's weird. It's weird. Let's see. Neil saying the only thing negative about the Kawhi investigation is it is holding up post moves the Raptors want to make after getting Kawhi. I don't think that's true, though. I don't think that's true. I think that it's actually a misnomer to think that. I think that Bobby could make moves still right now. I mean, the Clippers are doing moves right now, even though we don't have we haven't finished the deal, right? The Clippers have signed other people like Jamarian Sharp. They've signed a couple people since this deal was announced and has been paused. I don't think this is real. I think the reason why we're not making moves is because we can't, because we have no money. I keep saying this to people. People are saying, no, the Kawhi deal is holding up us from making other transactions. No, that's not what's happening. That's not what it is. We have $2.4 million left to spend. And honestly, the time to figure out when to spend that is in training camp. As the training camp battle in the preseason unfolds, you got to have Seth Lundy and a couple other people show up for training camp and show what they're doing and leave that carrot out in front of them. We figure out our whole entire roster right now. We have no competition in September when we have training camp and then preseason. That's the thing. In some ways, we're at the very last stage of building our team with the last couple roster spots, and those spots are determined after training camp and after preseason. So there's no moves to be made right now because there's no money. There's no money. It has nothing to do with the deal paused, that we can't do deals. No, that's not what it is, because the Clippers are making deals, and it's not like they have different rules than us. It's because we have no money. And I'll tell you that over and over again. People are saying this shit on Reddit are idiots. They're not right. It's because we have no money to spend. That's why. If they think we're missing out, it's not that we're missing out. We're in this position right now, and this is just how it is. It's just how it is. And there's nothing wrong with that. We've got most of our team. We've got the important players on our team, whether it's Brandon or Kawhi. We've got the important players. We got Kyle Anderson, and we got Trace Jackson Davis still. And we've got the nucleus, most of the core from last year coming back. So, we have 15 guys under contract already, and there's only 18 spots. So we can fill those last 2 or 3 spots in September. So we're not missing out on anything. It's not anything like this. The trade is not paused trading and dealing with other people because the Clippers are doing shit, right? Critical thinking. This is what we're doing right here. That's right. Kaloy saying this. Michael Grange said this. Okay. Kawhi Leonard is expected to join the Raptors in Quebec City for training camp. Michael Grange tweeted this. He tweeted this. Did he say that this morning? Let me see. Is it up right now? I follow Michael Grange. Why didn't he put that up on his Blue Skies? I don't know. I think he'll be there for sure. That's the thing. Kawhi's a pro. Kawhi will show up. Kawhi will be there. Like I said yesterday, the timeline is this. The NBA is going to figure out the punishment right now. They got to figure out whether they have enough evidence to really punish them. It could go two ways. It could be that there's not enough substantial evidence, even with Pablo Torre, to nail Steve Ballmer or Kawhi. So the investigation's over, no wrongdoing, everybody's fine. That's it. Bobby unpauses the trade, it goes through, and we just go forward. Steve Ballmer's not in arbitration or appeals because he has no punishment, and Kawhi doesn't either. That could be an outcome in the next week or two or month. Or it could be they decide, yes, there's enough wrongdoing that we legally can press the Clippers and Kawhi for this, and this is the punishment. We'll announce it. The punishment is Steve Ballmer has to pay $500 million where he's losing 5 draft picks in 5 consecutive years, and Kawhi Leonard has to give back $28 million. That's the punishment. Bobby sees that, he unpauses the trade, and Kawhi's a Raptor. And even if Steve Ballmer's pissed off and he says, that's too much money, we're innocent. I've told you we're innocent this whole time. We will not lose our trade draft picks and all that stuff. And he fights it. The deal goes through because we know Kawhi's punishment. And it's like, yeah, we don't care about this. Kawhi has to give money back. Okay. Oh, Kawhi's suspended for 10 games. Yeah, we can deal with that. We unpause the trade. And even if Ballmer is in arbitration and he's dealing with it from his end and his punishment, Kawhi can be on the Raptors and play this whole season while that's going on. That's the thing that people aren't saying right now that's making Raptors fans so scared, is they think that everything will be paused and held up till 2027 and Kawhi won't play for us until then. That's not what this is. What I just described is what it is. Bobby Webster controls the on-off switch, and he'll say on when he hears the punishment and he realizes that Kawhi Leonard's part of the punishment is not going to hurt us, and we go through with the trade. That's how it's going to go down, guys. That's how it's going to go down. I just reiterated exactly what I said yesterday. And does it make sense what I'm saying? You know, it could very well be very simple. And Adam Silver's saying there's no wrongdoing. Pablo Torre can suck a dick. Well, all right. Thank you. Bye. You know, it could be easy as that. And that could happen as soon as next week. You know, it could happen as soon as that. Yeah. Chloe's saying if the law firm investigating the Clippers on behalf of the NBA has a definitive evidence that the Clippers and Leonard circumvented the salary cap, they likely would have provided their findings months ago. That's interesting too. That's a good point by Kaloy, that if they really had the smoking gun, if they really had the dead to rights evidence, wouldn't they have come out with it as soon as they found it earlier? No. And I'll tell you why, Kaloy. Because of All-Star Weekend at Intuit Dome in LA this year. There was no way that even if Wachtel found the smoking gun during the season, that Adam Silver was going to mess up that All-Star Weekend that Steve Ballmer was hosting in LA. That if anything, he told them, listen, investigate them, give me all the information before you tell anybody else, and we'll deal with this in the offseason. Part of the reason why this took so long is the All-Star game. Let's not get this twisted. We may have heard the rumblings about Steve Ballmer and aspiration at the beginning of last year, but the fact that All-Star Weekend, a huge $1 billion invested event, was going to be at LA Clippers' new arena that they just built, no matter what, was going to hold off aspiration and anything that has to do with it until they were clear of that event. And then they might as well just say, we're going to do it for the rest of the year and we'll deal with it in the offseason. That's part of why the delay happened. That's it right there. And it may not be necessarily because these guys are, had some sort of evidence and they didn't, because once again, they're paid for and bought by Adam Silver. They're independent investigative law firm, but also at the same time, they're working for Adam Silver. And in some ways, Adam Silver is the gatekeeper of information from what they learn and what the public should know, if you know what I mean, right? Because he's thinking about the health and the product of the NBA and it being viable to make money the first thing. He's not caring about truth and justice and law and order. He's caring about protecting the cash cow is what he's caring about first. That's the number one priority for Adam Silver's job, is protecting the brand and protecting the image of the NBA. So that should inform you in some of the right there. That should inform you right there. That's right. That's a new one from Grange this morning. That's interesting. Well, I would argue the All-Star game would have maybe made them pause bringing any findings out. Isaac's saying this, breaking news, Kawhi is still a fun guy. That is all. So there's making some jokes on Reddit right now about how Kawhi needs to apologize to trees and he could say he's a fun guy. I don't know. This is stupid. All right, let's do the stars of the game. I'm going to switch gears. We should be talking more tempo today. I don't want to go too heavy on Kawhi today. I did a very heavy stream on Kawhi yesterday. A lot of Kawhi content yesterday. My number one star for the game yesterday for the tempo was Yescada. You know, Laura is this player that will both at the same time frustrate the hell out of me and piss me off because of dumb, silly shit, but then amaze me with amazing, like, whoa, wow. Yesterday, the cool thing she was doing was making these last second shots. The first one she made was behind the buzzer and didn't go. It didn't count, which sucks because it was such a cool little bank shot from distance. But yeah, she was making some long shots. And you know what? The thing I'm starting to trust Yaskeda on the threes. If she has her feet squared and she's wide open, she's nailing that three because we saw that last night. You got to look at the way she's also working in the paint. She has really interesting footwork, up and under, dream shake kind of stuff. And she's evading the defender and very smartly getting the ball laid in. So yeah, she's my number one star of the game. Yaskeda was the leading scorer for the Tempo yesterday. 30 minutes, 19 points on 7 of 12 shooting, 2 of 4 from three, 3 of 4 from the free throw line, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 4 turnovers, 1 steal, 1 block, minus 27. She's never worked so hard in her professional basketball career. You guys got to understand, in Europe, they play like 1 or 2 games a week, sometimes just one, and they don't really play this much and grind like this. She's really grinding right now, but she's enjoying it. She's enjoying it. As she said, coming in the game, they asked the Tempo players, "What's a word to describe you today?" And she said, "Bulletproof." Yeah, because in some ways you're a badass, Laura, and you are showing it more and more. You're coming from nowhere. You're an unknown. And in some ways, the WNBA is going to be slow to pick up and catch up and understand you, partly because you're in Toronto and you're not somebody they intended to market in any kind of way. But they'll have to catch up to you at some point, especially if you keep going in the direction you're going, because you're looking like a very solid WNBA starter who has a very promising career coming up. Now, it's up to you, though, because I could see this happening too, where Yaskeda gets homesick and she's kind of like, this sucks over here. I'm away from my family. I miss them. This is hard. It's very tiring. They're exhausting me because I'm playing so much, all this kind of stuff. That could happen if we overwork her too much. That's why Monica Wright Rogers, you need to build a full team that can withstand injuries. That's the lesson you've learned this year. Definitely. And you have to build the full team right. And whatever you guys have an empty roster spots and not using all your spots, I feel like that's such a foolish thing to do. Yaskeda, in her interview with Lindsey Dunn, talked about her photography a lot with Lindsey. She's got a real eye for the camera. She took this very beautiful picture down by the lake of a basketball hoop with the Canadian flag behind it. And it was like very patriotic and just very symbolic of the Tempo's inaugural season being the first ever Canadian WNBA team. She's got a real eye for the camera. She's very primitive with her lens work right now. She's not buying all the fancy equipment. She's just kind of working with lighting and angles and stuff like that. But she has some really cool pictures that she takes when she goes out sightseeing in the places she goes to on her travels as a Tempo. So yeah, I hope someday that Yaskeda will share her work more often online. I don't think she posts them on her Instagram, but I think that would be the perfect place. So Laura, please, a request. Will you post your great photography? Because you have a real talent, from the pictures that we're seeing that Lindsey Dunn was showing in that interview the other day. Yeah, I'm really appreciative of Yaskeda. She really is a bright spot in this year. And honestly, an unknown that we found from nowhere that came onto this team and has just been fantastic. Really good value. Very good value. And she should be a Tempo for years to come, hopefully. If I had my way, I'd have that. My second star of the game is in garbage time. And honestly, there was a little bit of brief of flash of brilliance, and I expect more, even if it was garbage time. But your hurried up and panicness, I mean, is it because Kiki's back? Yeah, Timma. Is it because Kiki's back? And now you see, oh fuck, I just fucked up this whole stretch of games where Rice was out and I had a runway to do a lot of things and ingratiate myself and make myself. I was warning her the whole time. I said, once Kiki Rice comes back, Timma Pui, you go right back to the end of the bench, and you may not even play in a lot of games. Yeah, you got to grab that brass ring when that brass ring's out there to grab, and you can't be wasting your life. Well, Timma came out and in a game where everybody was anemic with scoring, in 5 minutes she scored 7 points, and I want to give her a star for that. There's there are 3 starters that scored less than her and had like 20 minutes of play in the game. Yeah, in some ways, that's what we need right now. That's what we need. Puyi to wake up and be an engine off the bench and be a Vinny the Microwave Johnson. Come on in and get us a whole bunch of points real fast, Tim Puyi, because I know you can because you did it in France. But yeah, 5 minutes, 7 points, 3 of 3 from the field, including 1 of 1 from 3, 1 rebound, 2 turnovers, and a steal, a -2. And that's all at the end of the game in the last 5 minutes of garbage time. And maybe that's why she could do it. But either way, that's what we want to see more of, Timma. And you got my second star of the game, even though you were in garbage time and you just did stuff at the end. My third star game and the final star I have for last night is Sabali. You know, I want to give a lot of credit to Niara because we found out something after the game that really kind of told us something about her grit and her spirit. Sandy Brondello made it very clear after the game that Niara Sabali should not have played last night, that she's shocked that she did. She says she's very 50-50 right now. She is not 100%. In fact, you saw her get hit in the side a little bit, and she was holding her rib, her side a little bit because it's not healed and it feels bad. And honestly, Sandy gave her a lot of credit for suiting up and getting out there. And she said she really wanted to be out there. She wanted to be out there for her team, even though she probably shouldn't have played, is what Sandy said. So we got to factor that in for Niara last night. She wasn't totally effective at times. At times, she seemed to step slow, but she's out there fighting. And we got to give her credit for that, showing up 50% and trying to do what she can for the team. Sabali, 14 minutes, 10 points, 4 of 6 from the field. She hit her 3, 1 of 3 at the free throw line. Her free throws are bad. I really want her to change her free throw procedure. 2 rebounds, 0 assists, 4 turnovers, 1 steal, a -20. Yeah, Niara, kudos to you for getting out there and battling when you're not 100%. Really, seriously. And Sandy was very clear and very talking about this after the game. She's just really like impressed. And she was like, wow. In some ways, that's not smart, too, because of what Isaac was saying earlier. You know, you're half hurt, you're half tired. You could get even more hurt when you're playing hurt. And that's why sometimes we have to be patient with players and how long it takes for them to come back from injury. You know, you really don't want to rush somebody back and then they're out for even longer because they have an even worse injury. And that's what happened to Emmanuel quickly this year. That's exactly what happened to Emmanuel at the end of the season. We were on the stretch run to make the playoffs. We had important games at the end. In fact, the playoffs were not determined until the last day of the season. And it quickly came out there to play to help us on the stretch run, even though his plantar fasciitis wasn't exactly right. And he got an ankle injury and he missed the whole entire playoffs because of that. So, yeah, this is the exact same injury that Brittany has right now. And that's why we have to really baby and be patient and be smart with Brittany Sykes when she comes back. That's why, yeah. So, yeah, those are my 3 stars, Yaskeda, Puyi, and Sabali. I'll go over the rest of them. Maria Conde, you got to score more. I'm sorry. You just got to figure out ways to do it. 28 minutes, 5 points, and 2 of 6 from the field, 1 of 4 from 3, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 turnover, 1 steal, a -13. That pass to Fagbenle in transition was phenomenal. It was one of the best passes the Tempo have thrown all year. It's just slightly above the Lynx defender and just low enough for Temi to grab it from the sky. As Temi said on her Instagram stories, because she reposted it, that was a really high pass. And well, it's a good thing Temi Fagbenle is such a tall player that she could catch it in stride and lay it up. In fact, there was some really good cutting at times, really, really good cutting on our team, some slip cutting and just cutting, and people were finding people, and we were getting a lot of good baskets early in the game that way. But in some ways, Reeve saw it and adjusted and took that away from us, or we just didn't cut as well, or we were too tired. But that was a really big part of our success on offense in the first half was cuts to the basket, people slip into the basket, and then us finding them with a pass real quick. That worked really well. Temi herself, you know, I just wanted to score a bit more. 19 minutes, 6 points on 3 of 5 shooting, 3 rebounds, 1 turnover, 1 block. She's a true professional, and she's a very refined WNBA player. She has a lot of skill, but in some ways we're not tapping into it enough. Some of it is because of the condition of the team and the building up of the franchise as inaugural season. But some of it is also we're just not getting her in the right places and using her in the right ways to really maximize the player that Temi is. So there's some stuff that's going really well, like what I just described, but there is a lot of stuff we're not doing exactly right to really get the best out of her. Marina Mabry, 28 minutes, 16 points on 6 of 11 shooting. It's not a bad game. In fact, I'll give Marina honorable mention for the game last night. Not a star, though. 16 points is not enough. She needs to get 20 points every game. 2 of 6 from 2 of 3 at the free throw line. When she got those 3 free throws, from shooting a 3 and getting fouled on him. And she was definitely fouled by Courtney Williams on that. And thank goodness the refs called that, because in some ways, one of the problems with Marina is she's got a reputation around the league as a flopper, as a foul baiter. In fact, some of the other coaches in recent games have called her a foul baiter. And that in some ways it's a tag on her that's somewhat fair, but not totally fair. And it's part of the reason why the whistle's so unkind to Marina. Is because much like James Harden or Trae Young or other people in the league that have flopped so much in the NBA, they've chicken little or they've cried wolf too many times. And the refs are like, we're not listening to you because you're a flopper. You're a foul baiter. And well, Marina is not getting all the whistles partly because of that reputation, guys. And it's not a reputation she had here. It's something she brought with her from the years before in the WNBA. So that's part of the problem. She will get fouled a lot, and she does draw fouls, but the refs are like, yeah, we don't believe you because you did all this foul baiting before. That's something we have to realize with her. Yeah. When she missed the first free throw out of the 3 free throws on that foul, I was like, what the fuck, Marina? She was short. It like didn't even make the rim. It like went and went right before it. Oh my gosh. We need every point we can get. 3 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 turnovers, and a steal, a minus 28. She had the worst plus minus after Kiki Rice. Her and Kiki Rice had the worst plus minuses. While they were out in the court, our team was outscored 29-28 points. That sucks. Julie didn't score a damn point, and she's a starter. This is why, in some ways, Julie should be the backup point guard for our team because she's not an aggressive scorer. Ideally, on a basketball team, all your starters get double digits. Julie didn't even get a 1 point. 0 for 2. Both her shots were 3 shots. 2 rebounds, 6 assists with 2 turnovers and 1 steal, 1 block, a minus 12. Even though she's not scoring, at least she's doing amazing things on defense, amazing things being a captain and a leader of holding the team together. And that's a really good assist to turnover ratio compared to what the team did overall, 6-2. So, I mean, there's value in her even if she's not scoring, but this is the problem. Once again, this team needs scoring from everybody desperately right now. Off the bench, Tiani Key, 12 minutes. She took 2 shots, including a corner 3, 1 rebound, 1 turnover, minus 10. There was some stuff with Tiani that's good, but she's still finding her way, and it's early. I like her out there with Temi. That's a pretty good tall Twin Towers lineup with Temi and Tiani out there. But she's so raw still. And like in some ways, I'm just looking forward to her finding her niche and finding more of what her bag of skills is going to be in the WNBA and just being even more of value to our team. There's little value in some ways with her in little places, but she could have big value for us down the road. Kia Nurse, her obligatory appearances in the game, 19 minutes, 3 points. She made her 3. She's usually good for 1-3 each game, and it's fun to see her do it at Scotiabank. They asked her in the interview after the game. For some reason, she was in the interview with Sandy and Marina. And this is the crazy thing. Once again, in the interview, one of our players did not get a single question, and it was Marina this time. She just went in there and sat next to Sandy and Kia, and nobody asked her a damn question. They asked Kia a question before they asked her, and Kia only got 3 points, but they didn't ask Marina a question. I don't like this whole 3-person interview shit they're doing. But either way, they asked Kia about playing at Scotiabank Arena and what it's like. And she said, yeah, it's a big deal. There's a lot of culture and history with this building for the Raptors. And in some ways, it's like really special to get a bigger crowd for the tempo and play in this arena. Yeah, so she was talking about that from that aspect, especially as a Raptors broadcaster who has a lot to do with the Scotiabank Arena because she's, covering the Raptors during the season in the NBA. Yeah, but Kia, 3 points on 1 of 6 shooting. She wasn't on. 1 of 4 from 3, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 0 turnovers though, and minus 14. Kiki Rice is still having trouble finding her rhythm, like we said earlier. 23 minutes with 6 points, 2 of 9 from the field, 2 of 5 from 3. So both of her shots made were threes, which is a good sign. 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 4 turnovers, and 1 block. She's probably not liking her turnovers at all. In fact, our key players, Yasketa, Marina, and Rice, were all 4 turnovers, 3 turnovers, 4 turnovers. So there's 11 turnovers between those 3 players, and they're key players for us. Yeah, not a good game for Kiki, but there's intangibles and things that she's got to do to ramp back up to get right. Yeah, so that's my look at the box score for the tempo from that. On the other side, I'll give some shine real quick. There were a few players that got 16. 3 of them got 16 points. Very balanced. Nafisa Collier, 16 points on 7 and 12 shooting. 16 points for Courtney Williams on 6 of 11 shooting with 5 assists also and 0 turnovers. And then Olivia Miles with 16 points, and all that was driving to the basket. She didn't make a single three, and she didn't have a single assist either. So Olivia Miles' whole role last night was just blow by your defender and get a layup. That was kind of it. Yeah. Also, Kayla McBride with 13 points. She had 3 assists with 0 turnovers and 2 steals. So just a very solid, big time performance by the Lynx overall, with their starters all solid and equal. And then their bench coming in. Dorka with 12 off the bench, 4 of 7 from 3 with 5 rebounds herself. Yeah, it's tough. Every single one of their players scored off the bench too. So yeah, it's tough. Looking at the box score team stats for both teams, it's going to be ugly. Last game we out rebounded them. We did not this time, and that was part of Cheryl Reeves' adjustment. Is she didn't like how we out rebounded them on Tuesday, so she made it a point of emphasis for this game that we need to out rebound them. There was a couple of very comical possessions near the end of the game where the Lynx got like six chances to shoot. It's like, forget about second chance shots where you let them get one offensive rebound. There was a point where Natasha Howard just kept the ball alive for them on their end of the court, and they got like 5th and 6th chance, like where they just kept getting the rebound, and we couldn't get the ball and stop the possession, and they eventually scored. It's one thing to stop them on the first try. It's another thing to stop them on the second try, but then they get a third, a fourth, and a 5th try. That's fucked up. You got to get the ball and stop the possession. It's really bad. Shooting wise, they shot 48%. We shot 45%. They manufactured 21 more shots than we did. That's hustle. That's turnovers. That's offensive rebounding. That's all kinds of different ways to get 21 more field goal attempts than our team. That's a huge margin. The 3-pointers were not won by us. 13 for them, 10 for us. The free throw line, we shot horrible at the free throw line. We shot 6 of 11 at the free throw line, 55%. That is not like the tempo. When Brittany's out there, we shoot really high percent because she shoots like 90% at the free throw line. Rebounds, 36-26, plus 10 for the Lynx. That's the thing that Reeve wanted. And she talked about it after the game. She said, yeah, we rebounded way better in this game, and I'm proud of that. The offensive rebounds for the Lynx, unacceptable. 14 offensive rebounds, 5 alone by Natasha Howard. That's bad. That's bad. And the assist to turnover ratio was so bad for the tempo last night. 19 assists with 24 turnovers. They had way more turnovers than actually connecting with each other. And that's a bad game. Meanwhile, on the other side, you see a polished team that's been together, a championship caliber team, 26 assists to 10 turnovers. That's a good team's ratio. 19-24 is not good. Not good at all. Not good. It's 14 steals for the Lynx. They stole the ball a lot. 14 steals. That totally hurt us. Really, really bad. Points in the paint, kind of even. 38-36 for the Lynx. But yeah, it's a blowout. And in some ways, in the second half, we only scored 31 points. That's crazy. The whole half, we only scored 31 points. Cheryl Reeve was happy about that because she didn't like how much we scored in the last game. She thought we scored way too many points when they beat us in Minnesota on Tuesday. And she wanted us to not score points. So getting only 72 in this one, she was very happy with that. Very, very happy. And they went crazy in the second and third quarters with 30-point quarters, and we didn't have the right defense then. So yeah, there's my look at the box score, and what happened there. Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. All right, let's see. All right, let's see. We're on Blackhawk in the chat. Let me see what he's saying. The Kawhi findings are in. If there are any objections, then it stretches on. My perspective is if Steve Ballmer swallows his pride, we move forward. I have my Ingram jersey, so I'm fine with the trade. I really believe trading BI to Clippers is great for his next contract. Yeah, I mean, all right. The first part that you're saying, the findings are in. Yeah, the investigation's over. It's just he's got to really be smart about how he goes about saying whether he's going to punish him or not. Because if you think about it, he can get in trouble legally if he tries to come at Steve Ballmer without a real evidence that really incriminates him. And so in some ways, it's a really fine line. Adam Silver has got it's a dangerous situation. Like we've described, it's either like he's going to not do anything to Steve Ballmer and the people will be pissed and say it's all rigged, it's all full of shit. Or if he does come at Steve Ballmer, he could get in a lot of trouble legally if he does not execute a case against him successfully, showing that he is guilty. So it's a very dangerous situation in some ways for Adam Silver. And what he's got to do is before he comes out with his punishment, he really has to do some vetting of the evidence so that if he does say, "You're in trouble, Steve Ballmer," he can point exactly to the smoking gun and say, "This is the evidence that I have to support that why you're in trouble." Because if he doesn't do that, he's going to get Steve Ballmer is going to sue him for coming at him with false evidence and incriminating him unjustly. It's a dangerous situation, and that's part of the reason why this is not going very fast, is because Adam Silver's got to protect his ass, his own ass, and in some ways, that's what he's thinking about right now. Yeah, the Ingram. I have an Ingram jersey too, and I love my Ingram jersey. It's a great memory, and I always keep it. But I think it's a good trade for both teams. I think that in some ways the Clippers are destined to be in trouble right now, not just because of aspiration, but because their team's going through an adjustment and they're probably going to fall down a little bit for this season coming up. And probably rightfully so. It's like justice because they probably did do something wrong, right? Right. Stargate's here. Good morning, Stargate. I agree with Lex. Either way, the Raptors are good. It's a false narrative that somehow the Raptors are in trouble in any way. I wouldn't mind Brandon being back. To be quite honest, if it comes to that. But I highly doubt that this trade won't go through. So we need to stop chicken littling. Yeah. And I love Stargate is honestly, I appreciate Stargate because in some ways we're like-minded. And often he's the one seconding a lot of what I'm saying because he can see it from what I see it too. Because look, what did we do wrong? We didn't do anything wrong. If anything, we had wrong done to us originally when the Clippers tampered with Kawhi to get him to come there originally. So, if there's some sort of convoluted way that the NBA will punish us and fuck us over, well, shame on the NBA. And we'll talk about just how fucked up and how unjust it is towards the Canadian team is what we'll do. Yeah. Neil's saying this: if there is no smoking gun, then Pablo Torre is this decade's Geraldo Rivera. No, I think that he has some of the evidence, but this is the thing. It's what holds up and what is what. Part of it is that the whole thing with what happened is it's insulated, meaning there's levels to the people that were involved. Like there's fall guys, there's patsies, like Uncle Dennis, like the guy Dennis Wong, like the agent Mitch. If they all have correspondence where they talked about it, but Kawhi and Steve Ballmer are not directly linked in the thing where they can say, "Oh yeah, well this is how we show Kawhi knew about what was happening because here's the evidence right here." If they don't have that evidence, they can't come at Kawhi. If they don't have an exact thing that shows Kawhi knew and he knew exactly what's going on, And that's kind of a hard thing to provide evidence for, honestly, if you think about it. Steve Ballmer, do you think he did any of the grunt work and the things that happened with the Clippers side of it? No. How hard will it be for them to find any pieces of paper or any kind of things that link Steve Ballmer to this directly as a person? He had other people do it, underlings, people in the organization, and they may actually be the patsies and the fall guys that fall for this. It could be that this scenario plays out where Steve Ballmer says over and over again, we're innocent. We didn't do anything wrong. And then they do find something wrong. They do have proof of it. And Steve Ballmer says, well, I didn't know that employee was doing that. He's fired and he should be banned from the NBA. And he uses an underling as a fall guy. That could easily be the outcome of what happens here, is that they could not link directly to Steve Ballmer his knowledge of this whole thing, but there is somebody in the organization that did know, and they can link it to him and the evidence of that. And there's a fall guy that's an underling instead. I could see this possibly be parting how of it works out, right? Right. Stargate saying this, isn't it interesting that over the past few years, they have been major controversies with the Clippers, with two Clippers owners, this franchise, man. Well, some people would talk about the Clippers franchise as like being messed up karmically. Elgin Baylor, his tenure as the GM was just fraught with misery and failure and losing. They had one of the longest playout droughts for the longest teams. They were a joke of the league. In some ways, it's partly, you know, it's symbolic because there's two teams in LA. One team is the darling. One team is the team that gets promoted and it has a history and all this stuff. And in some ways, the juxtaposition, the contrast is there partly because of the Lakers. The Clippers were always the secondary team in LA, and they've been fighting for respect and fighting to get there and all this kind of stuff. But in some ways, the energy in that whole market is this is the Lakers city, and Clippers are a substandard product in their own city compared to the Lakers. And that's something that's held them back. In some ways, this is also symbolic of how the NBA likes to have non-parity sometimes, where there are haves and have-nots, and that they were perfectly fine with the Clippers being a joke and being a shitty team for decades and decades and decades. It's just that people saw financial opportunity with the Clippers and started thinking about getting involved with them more. And then it started to happen. Things like Donald Sterling with Blake Griffin and Chris Paul and DeAndre Jordan years, they started to get some success and in making the playoffs a little bit. But that team has always had extremely bad problems, dysfunction, corruption, racism, horrible GMing and draft picking, horrible trades, all kinds of ways they've shot themselves in the foot for a long, long time. The history is very long for them with this. Very, very long with this. You got to go way back. And you could even talk about when they were in San Diego and other places. Yeah. Yeah. Kaz is here. Good morning, Lex and Rat Free Crew. Good morning to you, Kaz. Good to see you, my guy. Good to see you. Kaloy saying that part was also from a Grange article, Lex. Okay. Okay. Well, Grange in this situation with the Kawhi stuff is a reputable source. In some ways, he may chicken little or fearmonger a little bit. But you know what? I think that Lewenberg and Grange see enough of that fear mongering around on social media right now that they understand that they need to be true journalists and stick to the facts and maybe not put their own kind of bullshit on it. Lewenberg's been very much sounding like me. In fact, we were joking yesterday because he put out a tweet after my show, which reiterated some of his points from before, which I had reiterated in the show in the morning. So, I appreciate Josh for being a voice of reason and logic in this whole confusing, convoluted situation. And I feel like in some ways Grange is following that kind of operating with this too. That in some ways he can normally be a confusing person or a gaslighter and put fear into Raptors fans, but there's enough of this already in this situation. So he doesn't have to do it. Instead, he can be a real journalist and just report the facts and try and keep Raptors fans on track for understanding what's happening. And I appreciate that from our local beat reporters. I do appreciate that from them. Yeah. Neil's saying this, I'd rather these Ballmer problems than the previous owner. I wouldn't. I mean, I get they're both horrible. Let's just put it that way. But the racism of Donald Sterling will not destroy the NBA like Steve Ballmer's cap circumvention. It's much more dangerous for the league in some ways. You can get rid of a racist. And you know, everybody knows that you shouldn't be racist and being like that and you know, condemn that. But the problem is this is so much more touchier to punish this thing with Ballmer. And in some ways, if they don't punish him correctly, there's a wild west of cap circumvention that people think they can get away with that's even worse and dooms the NBA. So, in one side, you say, yeah, I don't know which crime's worse, you know, breaking the collective bargaining agreement and doing some fucked up shit with a salary cap. That's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. Now, I mean, racism is a whole other kind of messed up thing. And especially the stories we heard about Donald Sterling yelling at Baron Davis and different people from sidelines saying really heinous shit. I don't know. In some ways, one is an individual problem, the other one is a systemic problem. And that's a totally harder thing to root out. Is an individual you can get rid of, but if it's a systemic problem, like what seems like with Ballmer and the Bucks right now, then we have huge, serious problems for Adam Silver in the NBA right now. That's what I would say right there. Yeah, Stargate saying you forgot the king of floppers, Joel Embiid. Yeah, I guess I could have mentioned him there. Ghost is back in the chat. Good to see you, Ghost. Good to see you in the chat. Smoking Guns. Some of y'all ball fans are so cucked to capital. That's not what we're. And first of all, don't use words like cucked. Fuck that. That's some sort of fucked up misogynist term. It's kind of fucked up. He's also saying Pablo Torre won a Pulitzer, and he and his team are still unearthing corruption in the league. I'm not going to disagree with you, but there's also a certain level. It's not cucked. It's not anything like that. Don't be fucking disrespectful like that. I'm going to give you a strike because that kind of language has no place in here. All right. All right. And first of all, smoking gun. Look, Pablo Torre is a journalist. Yes. Pablo Torre does have a Pulitzer. Pablo Torre once worked for ESPN. Yes. But also at a certain point, as I said yesterday when you came in here and said something similar to this, Pablo Torre at this point is grasping at straws. In some ways, he has a gravy train that he wants that train to keep going to a couple more stations. And well, he was right in initial things. And I believe him. I think Steve Ballmer did do something wrong. And I'm not cut to capital. If you've never fucking watched my show, that's a huge insult, considering that I don't fucking charge shit on this channel as far as like I give all free content. I don't put ads on my channel. So don't give me this shit because that's a fucking insult and a half, Ghosts. And seriously, if you're going to come in with this kind of energy, insulting energy towards us, I don't want you on this channel. I'll ban you from this channel, even if we are aligned on a lot of worldviews and a lot of things. Because first of all, I will say this. You don't attack your allies, Donald Trump or Ghosts of Geraltes. Seriously, I'm your ally. And you fucking coming in here and insulting me, a man who does not want to live by the system that we live in is already ahead of things because I'm not living in the system that we live in right now. In some ways, I'm ahead. I do not value money. I do not value capital. If you know me personally, you know this. So it's kind of a crazy insult to come in here and say we're cucks for capital when you're talking to one of the most anti-capitalist people you'd fucking ever meet. So the insult's unnecessary, okay? If you want to be a cocksucker for Pablo Torre, you go ahead. I think that Pablo Torre is fine. I think that there's a limit to what he's doing right now that's helpful. I've been on the record for saying that. I think right now he's making things just more confusing. And honestly, it's not very valuable information he's coming out with. It was convoluted, his last podcast. And in some ways, like I said, he's guilty of something that I don't do. He's trying to clickbait. He's trying to strike while the iron's hot. And he's worried about his numbers, his following, his subscriptions, his views. Does the Raptor Freak care about any of this kind of shit? No. So I'm not like Pablo Torre. And in some ways, you can go ahead and stand up for Pablo Torre and say, oh, he's this and this. He's such a great man. He's still just a dude. And honestly, I've watched some of his shows. He puts people on his shows that have problems, honestly. Political people that have problems, that are not people that you should like or endorse. He has some fucked up right-wing people on his shows sometimes. So you go ahead and cuck him all you want. How about that? I'll use the word cuck against you. Go ahead and be a cuck for Pablo Torre. I'll say, look, initially, what he did was important. But at this point, he's just beating a dead horse, like we said. He's just trying to stay relevant. He's just trying to unearth new shit that isn't even really there or relevant. So, yeah, you go ahead and think that. You think I'm all for the NBA and Adam Silver? No. You think I'm all for Steve Ballmer and the Clippers? No. I am for Kawhi Leonard at this point because you see that symbol over my shoulder. He's going to be part of this organization again. And, well, once again, I'm very clear. I'm a very biased fan channel that is supporting the Toronto Raptors and their quest for their next championship. And that's my whole goal and purpose on this channel. I'm very transparent about it. I'll lie and I'll propagandize for the Raptors if I have to, but I don't lie a lot. And honestly, if I lie, it's by omission. I won't talk about something that I want to talk about because it's bad for our team. But otherwise, I'm standing up for them and I'm looking out for them. And if Kawhi Leonard's incoming, I'm looking out for him. So you can call me a cuck all you want. Yeah, all right, I'm a cuck for the Raptors. How about that? That's accurate. How about that? Stargate saying this. I think it was Infamous who said that there are players in this league, this team, that are not good enough and just don't really fit. I tend to agree with them. I think this inaugural tempo season should be used as an assessment in scouting. Well, it's just like the Raptors' first year. We had a high turnover after the first year. A lot of people left immediately after the first year. Original Raptors did not stay Raptors for long. Alvin Robertson retired. Other people went to other teams. People got traded. In fact, the birthday for today is one of those guys. Tony Massenberg, happy birthday. Original Raptor, 58 years old. Tony Massenberg is one of the players in the NBA that played for 12 teams in his career. He went to Europe twice. He was in Europe before he even started with the Spurs in 1990. Then he went back to Europe in the middle of the 90s. And then he came back and was a part of the first ever Raptors team. But in the first year of the Raptors, he got traded to Philadelphia for Sharon Wright. And he was only a Raptor for half the first season. This is the thing. So happy birthday to Tony Massenberg, by the way. The team's going to turn over. Some of the players that we love right now will not be on the team next year, and we'll be upgrading. That's how it works. We'll get a new draft pick. We'll get some new players, and we'll upgrade. This is normal. We got to uptick the talent on our team, and this is exactly right. Stargate's exactly right. There's going to be players. There's going to be turnover. There's going to be new players that come in, and we're going to have better players as we go. That's what building a franchise up is. We've got to start getting established, good, trustworthy starters like the Lynx has. You know what I'm saying? That's it right there. Stargate saying this. I already see who I believe the core should be going forward. Seen enough of a sample size, but I will leave it till the end of the season. You know, that I'd be interested to hear it, but I'll wait and be patient because I have patience. It's a virtue. And I'll wait for Stargate when he's ready because I'm interested and curious to hear what he has to say. I have my own ideas too, myself. And maybe we'll trade who we think is who at that point. We honestly know that his girl, Kiki, is one of them. Oh, yeah. Kiki Rice is a cornerstone going forward for the future of the tempo. In fact, she is the Damon Stoudemire of the tempo. As much as Marina's the star right now, she's not necessarily the Damon Stoudemire. The Damon Stoudemire is Kiki Rice, the rookie. That's right. That's right. Let's see. Unfortunately, I can see a popular key player being dangled in order to fill glaring needs. I can see this too. And it could be either one of them, honestly. It could be either one of them. In some ways, Marina's got a very high profile in the league all of a sudden now. That's valuable. But also Brittany showed huge, huge growth herself before she got injured this year. And this is true. This is true. This could easily be something where things switch. That's why I would caution tempo fans, don't get too attached to these players. It's kind of like having meat animals on your farm. You're going to slaughter that pig eventually to eat him. Well, don't give him a name because you're going to be feeling sad when you have to do it. That's right. You know, you got to be smart about this. Y'all can get all, oh, I love these people. Some people are in love with Lexi Held and they're all upset and bent out of shape after Lexi Held got waived. Y'all are going to be in trouble over the years coming up if you're that attached to players and oh, I have such sentimental feelings. It's like you never forget your first team. of your inaugural tempo. You never forget them. But you know what's going to happen? You're going to have to, because there are going to be people moving on. And that's just how the business of basketball works. So, Tempo fans, I'll warn you now, you're going to have heartbreak and sadness if you get too attached to certain players, because just like everything in this world, everything has its time and its place, and sometimes expiration comes. That's right. You know, I've noticed that a lot of players around the league, it's crazy. I watched this interview yesterday from Hello and Welcome, William Liu with Pascal Siakam. And we saw this happen with Kyle at his retirement ceremony. People keep slipping the word aspiration into their interviews. And now, whenever I hear the word aspiration, I'm like, why the fuck did you have to use that word? Is it just on everybody's minds? I want to talk about the interview that William Liu did with Pascal Siakam in the last month at a PS43 Foundation event. Once again, I'm going to be critical of William Liu for being unprofessional as a media person. I get it. He's like me. There's a scale of fan to journalist. I'm a straight up fan, but I have journalistic training because I did go to university to study broadcasting. And I do have training in that field professionally. But I'm very much presenting myself and portraying myself as a fan, because that's the role I'm in right here. I'm not trying to be journalistically integrity with neutral on things. I'm very much a homer for the Raptors. I want to be able to cover things as a fan. Now there's a sliding scale from me to Josh Lewenberg. Josh Lewenberg to me is a true journalist. He's a real professional. But there's a sliding scale too. And Will Liu is somewhere on that spectrum between me and Josh Lewenberg, because he's a fan also. But he's getting big time interviews with big time people like Rowan Barrett Sr. and Pascal Siakam. He has to be more professional in these interviews, because in some ways he's rubbing people the wrong way. In fact, he said a question to Pascal in this interview that hurt his soul. And to me, I saw it and I'm like, William Liu, fuck you for asking Pascal that question. First of all, it's not important to ask Pascal about the change from Toronto to Indiana anymore. This shit happened 3 years ago. Is this question going to be any different? His answer after 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years? No. You've got to understand, Siakam was so dedicated to our city and our country and our team. It's painful for him to talk about not being a Raptor anymore. It's painful for him. And to bring it up, in some ways, he's put it to rest and to peace, and he's fine with Indiana, and he loves being there, and he's really doing well there. But also, William Liu, don't get him in trouble with his existing current fan base by overglazing him with Toronto homerism stuff. Like, seriously, don't do this. I love Siakam, and I don't want any dysfunction or trouble for him in Indianapolis. So you can't do this to him. He's very open and honest. Most players would be like, I can't sign anything Raptors anymore, because in some ways I am a pacer and my fans will get mad at me if I'm glazing my last place I was too much. He's very open. He said, Toronto's home. I grew up here. Meaning I became a man here. I became an NBA player here. I became a multi-million-dollar person here. And he is always going to love Toronto. He's always going to have ties here. In fact, I could see Siakam living in Canada eventually later on in his life, part-time. But you can't make him look bad with the Indiana fans. And, Siakam comes up here for PS43 Foundation. That's his focus. You want to ask him all these old Raptors questions, William Liu? That's not classy. In some ways, it's not what he wants. And he told you that in the interview, but you didn't respect that. The really worst question you asked him was, you asked him about his opinion on Kawhi coming back. First of all, that was so inconsiderate. And I'm going to explain why right now. Kawhi Leonard and Pascal Siakam were a duo in 2019 that were like Jordan and Pippen. They had the kind of scoring power and stats that rivaled Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen in the Bulls championship runs. Pascal Siakam blossomed under the tutelage of DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry. He did not because of Kawhi. He did see Kawhi and how he worked, but Kawhi wasn't that leader. He gave all the credit to DeMar and Kyle for teaching him how to be a pro. And he even said, I'm lucky that I got those guys early in my career, because I don't think I'd be the guy I am now without DeMar and Kyle's influence in my very early career. He wanted to be here his whole life. He wanted to be in Toronto, a Raptor, for his whole career. It still hurts him. And the fact that he can see Kawhi circling back, a guy who threw it all away and didn't fucking value it, and he's going to get an opportunity to come back and put the jersey on and be back here rocking for Toronto. To him, in some ways, that's life being unfair, because he would love that himself. In a perfect world, he would have never been traded to the Pacers and had this happen. He would have just stayed a Raptor. So William Lou asking him that question is very inconsiderate, because Kawhi, who squandered a lot of chances and does not respect a lot of things that Siakam does, is getting that second chance. And that's why William Lou was wrong for that. Because as soon as he asked that question, first of all, the deal's not official. Second of all, it has nothing to do with Siakam, because he's in Indiana now. And he answered it gracefully. He said, I don't have anything to say about that. And I'd like to talk about the foundation. That's why I'm here. And what does Will Lou do immediately after that? He starts asking him about Kyle Lowry's retirement instead. See, that's unprofessional. You should respect your interview person. If they ask you, this is an interview about what I'm here for, which is this PS43 event and the things that I'm giving back to the Toronto community, you should stick to those questions, William Lou. And then he, even on the end of it, as a punctuation mark, as unprofessional as fuck, he had a little jersey from a friend of his that he got Siakam to sign on it. And it was kind of touching and nice that he's like, my friend named his son Pascal after you. Dude, that is not something professional journalists should be doing. Soliciting autographs in the middle of an interview for your friend. Now, get it. You're on the spectrum between me and Josh Loomberg as far as a fan to a journalist. But you do shit like that, you're more closer to me on the spectrum. If you don't care about that, like you and Lindsey Dunn to a degree are both like this. Lindsey Dunn is not totally a journalist herself. She's an entertainment journalist who does a lot of weird shit too, with like unprofessional things saying to people and stuff like that. And that's fine. That's her style. Her and Will are kind of in the same boat. Although Lindsay should be more professional in her journalism. She should be, because she's more on CTV, City TV, and all the other jobs she's had in the past. But she is also kind of in that vein of not totally a journalist, because she's doing flaky shit too that isn't totally professional to players when she interviews them. William Lou, I would ask you to respect your interview subjects more in the future, because right now you're cussing at Rowan Barrett Sr. in an interview, and then you just broke Siakam's heart with a completely inconsiderate question in that interview. Completely inconsiderate. So yeah, that's my takes on Hello and Welcome's interview with Pascal Siakam recently. You know, Siakam made an appearance in Elijah Martin's latest drop from his Vegas vlog. And you know what? I watched that vlog with Elijah Martin again yesterday. And you know what? I seen a lot of stuff in it that I didn't see the first time that actually has me really worried for Martin. I don't think this guy gets it. I think this guy's screwing up his NBA career already. You know, there's a section in it. Like first of all, I get why people want to have YouTube channels and like film their lives and do vlogs and get clicks and get some revenue from a YouTube channel. But man, you got to be careful. You guys could be filming stuff you shouldn't have been filming, like proprietary insider stuff about the Raptors organization, like our facilities, like how we do things. And you guys are putting it out there for everybody to see, and it's hurting the team. Elijah Martin, you know, this is what I took from your Vegas blog that came out in the recent week. Sorry. It fell off all of a sudden. I don't know where like that. All right, hang on. Check. All right, cool. The mic fell over. In some ways, they showed clips of him practicing in the ballroom, and he looked fine. He looked fine. He didn't look like he needed to sit out for Summer League. He was doing workout, and he was running fine. He had a thing around his knee, and I think that was the reason why they didn't play Martin at Summer League. But there's this whole interesting part where Bobby Webster's talking to him, and you can't hear the audio. And you see him in the ballroom, and Bobby the whole time is staring at him suspiciously. He's looking him up and down, and he's looking down at his knee. And I'm like, is Bobby asking him, why are you not playing? Or what is wrong with your knee? And Elijah's kind of like talking to him. because it looked like Bobby was looking at him like he's full of shit. And he also kind of was like very much looking at his knee and trying to checking him out. Like, how hurt is he? Man, Elijah, I get the feeling that you sat out at Vegas for a piddly ass fucking injury that you didn't need to because you thought you were above playing Summer League. And this is going to fuck you up, bro. In fact, another thing that's weird is you're going into the Panini card event and you see your teammate from Florida. I think it was Clayton. And you're talking to him and they're going on and on about how you just got paid and you got your 2-year contract and you're so proud and stuff. And you're all about that and all that. But I'll tell you this right now, Elijah Martin. Last year, you were at the Rising Stars All-Star Challenge at All-Star Weekend. You were one of the top players. You know who else was? Sean East III. You know Sean East III? Yeah, he was a rising star too. You know how he's spending his summer right now? How are you spending your summer? Oh, I'm gallivanting around. I'm going to see people. I'm living the life of an NBA player, enjoying concerts, going to see my family, doing this and doing that. Motherfucker, you're going to be out of the league so quick because you're not putting in work. In fact, you're shirking duties. You're getting your way out of things. You should have played at Summer League so bad. I know you could have, and you fucking didn't. You're dumbass. And what was Sean East doing this summer? Well, he was playing last night against the Montreal Alliance for the Brampton Honey Badgers. Yeah, he was playing in the CBL. Yeah, he doesn't listen. It may be different because he doesn't have a contract like you, but he was in the same position as you at All-Star Weekend as far as a rising star in the All-Star Weekend on the Rising Star team. And he actually got accolades there too. He played very well. What did he do this summer? He's an American. He played for Brampton. He played for Brampton Honey Badgers this past summer. He played last night. I watched him play last night. Meanwhile, you're shirking duties to go play for fucking the Raptors at Vegas with Alan Graves. We got a guy who's in the same position as you, who wants to put in work, who's out there playing, and he's at Brampton in this Canadian Elite Basketball League playing for the Honey Badgers. Yeah, some are built different, Elijah Martin. You want that lifestyle? You want that bag? You want to celebrate all that kind of shit? You want to push forward cheap ass fucking brands and all this kind of shit and live that life and act like you're something? You're not something yet. And you skipping Summer League when you could have played is going to be a fatal mistake. Yeah, I'm really off on Elijah at this point. Because honestly, I think that he wants the lifestyle and the bag, but he doesn't want the work and he doesn't want to actually progress. And he's a dead fucking end for this team. In fact, I think that Bobby might already regret giving him the 2-year contract this summer. Because, man, when he was looking at him in his little clip and looking him up and down and looking at his knee brace, he's like, it looked like if I was reading Bobby's face, it's like, this guy's full of shit. He could be playing right now. And he probably should be out there. I think Elijah Martin's trying to lump himself in with Colin Murray-Boyles and say, oh, no, I'm exactly like Colin. We're both rookies at the same time. You're not fucking Colin Murray-Boyles. You're not at his level. You got to fucking be more at Chucky's level still. And if you think you're way above Chucky, that you don't have to play at Summer League, you're making fatal mistakes. And you're fucking up your career right now because you don't even know it. And your ego is fucking in the way. So I'm really off on Elijah after watching his latest vlog post because he was all about the celebrity and the NBA life and being around and smiling. No, I'm in the NBA. This is what we do. We go to events. Like even when he greeted himself with Siakam at the event, he's like, what's up, my boy? Bro, that's a GROAT. That's a Raptors champion. That's a dude that you need to hold in the high esteem. Don't talk to him like he's your equal. That motherfucker is way above you in this league and everything that's happened. He's way above you. Don't be talking, yo, what's up, my boy? You even know Siakam? Like that? Seriously. You need to give him reverence and respect, my guy, because you have not arrived. You have not arrived. You got a taste of the NBA, a couple games here, a few points there. Motherfucker, you just touched the league and you are not established. So don't be walking around acting like you're all that in a bag of chips already, because you got to put the work in first before you get the other stuff. So, yeah, I'm really off on Elijah Martin. Really, really off on him. In fact, I feel worse about him than Jaden Bradley at this point because I'm seeing the problems of an NBA guy who likes to just get the bag and he'll be fine after that. He's resting on his laurels. He doesn't have to work now. I made it, guys. I made it. I got a championship with Florida, and now I made it to the NBA. I'm good. Okay, you're good. You're going to be out right away. You're going to be out right away. Because that's what I'm seeing with Elijah right now. First of all, man, you're undersized shooting guard that can't play point guard. You're fucked. And if you're not going to go to summer league and try and play in summer league, you're fucked. And even in the clip with Colin, when he's sitting on the bench with Colin doesn't respect him. I can tell. He's trying to talk to him. He's singing the basketball song, I'm playing basketball. And Colin's just like shaking his head like he's like annoyed with him and stuff like that. There's something wrong there. There's something wrong there. And Elijah Martin thinks he's above things, and he's not. He's got to humble himself even more. Really, really bad. Really, really bad. Okay, there's a little aside. I just like kind of went off on a couple of things I watched yesterday. The William Liu interview with Pascal Siakam and Elijah Martin's Vegas vlog on his YouTube channel. You go watch it. You tell me what you think about what Elijah's doing with his life right now. Is he working? Is he working hard? I don't see workout videos of him like I see Jacoby and Colin and Emmanuel and Jamal and Scotty and all them. I don't see workout videos with him. I see him enjoying the life, the nightlife, the connections, the endorsements, the things like that, the broadcasting. I don't see him working though. That's a big problem right there. That's a big, 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 big problem. That's right. That's right. Let's see. Stargate saying this: Clippers have had a history with players having horrible injuries as well. Example: Sean Livingston. Yeah, I can get behind that. I can get behind that for sure, for sure. Ghost is saying Pablo Torre is a real journalist. I won't deny that. He got a Pulitzer. It's harder to get oligarchs like Ballmer because both the liberals and the conservatives have no critique of capitalism. As long as the money is at top, they will look the other way. First of all, once again, I think you've been guilty of this. And you need to watch out, seriously. And this is a big problem with a lot of people. Look, I'm woke. You know, I consider myself a liberal person, but I'm really more NDP. I'm an NDP by political affiliation. But, you know, attacking the left wing is not in your interest. We need to get together and stop saying other and this versus this. In fact, I'm not even trying to attack conservative people anymore either, because I know what the real fight is at this point. And using these kind of words to divide people is stupid as fuck, Ghosts. You're shooting yourself in the foot because you're gonna turn off allies that you would have in your life just to fucking feel like you're better than people. Get over yourself. This has been part of the problem with the woke movement is some people want to have a contest about who's fucking more woke than the other people. Why can't we all come to agreement on some things and be okay if some people are not totally as woke in certain ways? In some ways, these allies want to help, but you turn them off because you insult them and tell them that they're not as woke or is some sort of fucking competition. I'm sick of this kind of energy from that side of things. In some ways, you're hurting the movement. You're hurting the people because you want to make it versus, or you want to get a little ego grab and say, well, I'm a little bit more progressive than you, or I'm a little bit more left leaning than you, or I'm a little bit more anti-capitalist than you. It's not a fucking competition. When all this shit goes down, we're all going to need each other, and we'll all be different gradients on the slope of that whole arc. And some of us won't be as woke and as this and that as other people, but we can still be allies and we can still be helpful to each other. So don't shoot yourself in the foot by turning off people that are actually with you and on your side with using this kind of bullshit like this. You know, the system needs to go down. I agree. The corruption of capitalism is fucked up at this point, and it's going to destroy itself inevitably anyway. But in some ways, what we should be focusing on right now is building strength and community and bonds between people and across differences. Because when everything goes to shit, we're all going to need a life raft. And some of us are going to have to be friends with former enemies just to survive. So you can go ahead and try and draw lines and turn people off because you think it's some sort of contest to be the most progressive person in the world. And I'll say, I'm going to allow for other people to be different with their political spectrum and their ideals, because there may be one huge, huge topic that we all have to be on the same boat about. And all the other shit is just distraction politics and bullshit. And some of it is just unnecessary ego inflating because I'm more progressive than you and you are not as woke as me bullshit.
that we've been hearing the last few years, and which has really actually hurt the movements in a lot of ways, because people try and tell people, oh, you're not woke enough. Oh, you didn't use this term. You didn't use my pronouns. Look, not everybody's going to be perfect on all this. And the assholes that are calling people out for not being perfect on this are hurting the movement just as much as the assholes that are destroying the world themselves. Okay? So let's find a middle ground, and let's stop using labels to divide people. Let's start finding the commonalities and the things that we really give a shit about, like maybe data centers and AI and drones and ICE and genocide. Because I get on the same page with you with genocide. But if I don't get on the same page with you on everything, am I your enemy? That's the problem right here. That's the problem right there. That's it right there. That's it right there. That's right. What's a strike? A strike is you get 3 strikes, I ban you from my channel for good. You're not allowed to be in here with us, because this is not a channel where I give a shit if I have a lot of people here. This is a clubhouse. This is in some ways a private little speakeasy for us to just talk and do things. It's not a thing where I'm trying to get 1 million subscribers. I will kick people out if I want to. This is a privilege to be here and talk here. And if you're coming in here abrasive, you're coming in here assaulting, I will give you 3 strikes and I will ban you permanently from this channel. So you got 1 strike right now. That's what I'm saying right there. That's right. Grasping at straws. Okay, dude, good luck. Pablo Torre, listen, his whole thing that this week is about a Rhode Island soccer team that Kawhi Leonard can legally be an owner of. Everything that he said this week is a nothing burger. You want to get all sensationalized with him. Yeah, go Pablo Torre. You're fighting the system. You go, go, go. At a certain point, he runs out of juice, and he's just kind of reaching. That's what I say, grasping at straws. He's reaching. And, this isn't just me saying this. The consensus of people watching his content this week are saying, man, he's just going overboard now. Like, he's overdoing this now. You're just so short-sighted. You just want to get bombers so bad that you're willing to just whatever Pablo Torre is going to say is just, oh, yeah, it's true. It's true. It's true. It's true. Listen, once somebody hits it big, once somebody gets attention, once somebody gets a Pulitzer or something like that, they like that feeling. In some ways, their ego can compromise their work, because in some ways they're not trying to do their work diligently anymore. And they're just looking for stuff that fill the time so they can put stuff out. And that's what's happening here. That's what I'm saying. I won't be back. Yeah, okay, that's fine. You don't have to be making things more confusing. You're lost, son. First of all, you're not my father. And second of all, making more things confusing. Yeah, because what's happening right now is Kawhi Leonard is trying to get traded to Toronto right now. And there's all barrage, a shitstorm of misinformation and bullshit. And in some ways, Pablo Torre is a part of that noise at this point. The stuff that's come out this week about his spouse is exactly the epitome of what I'm talking about. They see an opening and everybody wants to pile on. And in some ways, Pablo Torre has done his job. He doesn't have to do anything else for this point. He's done his job on this subject. And everything he does now is just for his own ego. That's what I say right now. It's not like he's uncovering huge bombshells like the original one over and over again. No, he's not a magician. He can't fucking do that. And that's the thing. In some ways, you don't want to come back. I don't give a shit. I'll ban your ass right now. All right? I'll ban your ass right now. You won't have the right to, even if you want to. So you're hidden from the, I like you. I thought you were great for the channel, but you're going to come in here and use language like cucks and attack people in here. That's a big no-no. And in fact, we made a big, there was a recent incident that happened in this channel this summer. And I've warned certain individuals on this channel about attacking people in this chat. And you have broken that rule. And in some ways, if you're not going to listen to me, you're going to be disrespectful. And you say, well, I won't be back. You know what? You don't want to be back. You're definitely not going to be back because you've been hidden from this channel now. So bye, Felicia. And that's the part right there that you don't get. I may read the rest of your comments and roast you, but you won't be able to say jack shit. And you know what? I don't give a fuck because this is my channel and this is not a democracy. This is my channel and I run it the way I want to. See, Stargate already knew. Bye, Felicia. He wrote it like 20 minutes ago. He knew you were getting out your ass out of here. That's right. Kaloy saying, laughing my ass off. You can be a fan of Pablo. He's my Filipino brother as well. But anyone with a mind can see Pablo's reaching with that last episode. See, there you go. Kaloy loves his Filipino brother, Pablo Torre. And in some ways, I do too. I'm not against Pablo Torre. You think I'm against him just because I'm saying that he's reaching this week? No, I have the same stance exactly as Kaloy. Is that, I appreciate him for what he did. I think he deserves the Pulitzer. I think he's one of the most important journalists in the last couple of years in the world. I have a lot of respect for him, but also I can not just blindly follow him and actually see what he's doing at this point. And Kaloy's saying the same thing as me. So who's cucking who? You're cucking Pablo Torre. He can't do no wrong to you at this point, is what it sounds like. That's what it is right there. Kaloy's saying this. It's fucking 1 hour of a reach. I was waiting for his drop on how Bomber funneled money to Kawhi via that football club, and no, not a zilt. Yeah, there's a funny meme on Reddit where they show a bus running towards a post, and they're saying this is Pablo Torre for 48 minutes, getting to the point of what he's trying to do, and he never gets there. He never fucking gets there. It's just a runaround. It's just sensationalized bullshit that in some ways is just confusing the situation or just nonsense at this point. And that's my point about his drop this week. I won't say anything about his initial stuff. So there. Yeah, let's see. Let's see. I have journalistic training. I do. You dumbass motherfucker. I have a bachelor's degree in writing for communication. I worked for radio for years. I covered sports in Florida on the radio for years. I've taken all the coursework. I have the degree. You can fucking laugh at that if you want, but once again, you're not making any friends being a piece of shit little troll, is what I'm saying right here. This is true. I have the degree to prove it. You don't want to fucking believe me? I spent many hours studying broadcasting at Diffenbaugh Building on FSU campus. That's right. I went to Florida State and I went and got broadcasting degree. I have a degree in writing for media with a minor in communications on radio. And I worked in radio for over a decade. You don't fucking know me, Ghost, so don't even laugh at me. Don't even laugh at me because honestly, I do. I have journalistic training. I've written for newspapers. I've done radio work. Yeah, that's training. And you don't have to believe that if you don't want to. Seriously. But the diploma is there. And honestly, you're such a clown. Seriously, very much a homer. I am a homer. I'm a homer to the degree. Fuck yeah, I'm a homer. I love the Toronto Raptors, and I've loved them since 1994, motherfucker. I may have loved them even longer than you've been alive. So don't even fuck with me on this. I'm an original Raptors freak. In fact, my original email when I first got online on the internet, on America Online, was raptorsfreak@aol.com in 1995, motherfucker. So the name I'm using on this channel is a name I've used since I've been a fan of the team since 30 years ago. See, you got to understand, I lived in Florida. I was a Canadian living in Florida who never played hockey. I grew up on basketball. I was tall. I'm 6'4". I played basketball. I never played hockey. I was from Toronto. I grew up in Florida, and I loved basketball. I never loved hockey. When I heard that my favorite sport, the NBA, was getting a team in my hometown, it was over. I was going to be this guy as soon as I heard that. When the Globe and Mail said Toronto awarded an NBA franchise, I didn't even know the name of the team. I was ready to go right then. And I've been with them ever since for 31 years. So don't give me this shit. I'm the ultimate homer. I'm the ultimate homer for the Toronto Raptors. Trust me. And I have the knowledge base and the time spent being a fan of the Toronto Raptors to prove this shit. And if you have watched my channel for 5 years, have you seen what I've been talking about on this channel? How much I know about the culture and the franchise, the Toronto Raptors? That's it right there. Yeah, no shit, I'm a homer. And I'm very proud of it. And I don't think it's a negative thing. I think that more people should be proud of the Toronto Raptors and be not afraid to be this passionate about them. And that's why I made this channel. And that's why I have great followers that are like me, that are here every day. Is exactly like that. That's right. That's right. Stargate saying, I have 4 players in mind when I believe the tempo should start building with. I want to guess. My 4 players would be, well, I love Marina. I really want to keep Marina. If we have to make a decision between Sykes and Mabry, it's Mabry I want to keep. I seriously do. Kiki, Yaskeda, and Tiani. Those 4 right there for sure. Everybody else is a little weird. Maybe Maria also. Maria should be coming forward. Now, Niara is invested in and should be a part of it. I like Isabel, and I'd love Isabel to stick around, but she's also a veteran and kind of moved around in the league. And some of the things that happen with an expansion team is you'll get a very good veteran for the first year or two, but they move on to other places afterwards. And that could very well be what happens with Harrison and Fagbenle, those two in particular. Now, I'd love Niara to stick around for a long time, but in some ways, there's also this whole thing about Niara's injury prone and having different issues with her. And, but definitely those four: Kiki, Marina, Yasketa, Tiani, and Maria. Give me five. Give me five. I want those five right there. That's right. Stargate saying William Liu loves up to his nickname for sure, King Nephew. I mean, it was tacky when he brought the jersey out. I mean, it was touching at the same time, but you shouldn't have had him sign it on the camera. You should have basically said, "Hey, I want you to know that one of my best friends named his son Pascal after you." And then just have that touching moment. And then don't even fucking show that jersey on TV. Let him fucking sign it off camera. Because look, I love Siakam. Once again, my homerism, my love for the Raptors goes past our guys, even when they're not on our team. And I understand that Siakam is one of the greatest Raptors of all time, and I'm looking out for him. I want him to be okay in Indiana, and I don't want a dumbass William Liu interview to make Indiana fans pissed at Siakam, where they're thinking, well, he loves Toronto way more than he loves here, and all this kind of stuff. That's going to be true. It's always going to be true. But in some ways, we don't need to put media out that shows it to the Indiana fans so that it may cause disruptive problems for him in Pacer world. That's my whole stance on this, William Liu. You need to be more careful with this, especially with players that are currently playing still that are on teams that are rival to us. You've got to be more careful with this. Seriously. That's right. Stargate's saying that. Cool Cat's here. Good morning to Cool Cat. I hope that you're doing very, very well. And I appreciate you so much, Cool Cat. There's some things that are way more important than basketball. Some things are way more important than kicking out trolls and idiots like Ghosts. And that is the fight that Cool Cat is in. And we always give prayers and blessings to her as she deals with the things she's had to deal with in recent years. So we love you, Cool Cat. And I hope you just have good things happening and bells are ringing. That's what I want to hear. That's right. Cool Cat saying, thank you, Lex, for standing up for Siakam's principles for that Will Liu interview. We know it's Toronto forever, but grant him space for his Pacers team. Yeah, this is number one Siakam fan right here. And in some ways, I was thinking about her when I was watching it because I know how much she loves Siakam. And that's why we don't want trouble for Pascal. In some ways, it's very painful for Pascal leaving Toronto. It's very painful. And that's why I thought it was inconsiderate of Will Liu to bring it up again. You know, you don't have to bring it up that he switched teams. He's very established now, and he's doing very well there. And when you bring him back to that moment about thinking about having to leave Toronto, it's not fair to him. And as he said, he's gone on his direction now, and everything's fair and fine. But you guys, are you going to ask him this question 5 years from now? You're going to ask him a year from now, say, it's been 5 years since you moved from Toronto to Indiana. How's the difference? How does it feel right now? Fucking get rid of that question, William Liu. You've asked that question at least 2 or 3 times since he left. I can remember you asking him this question a year after he left. You're going to ask him every year, come around, William Liu? Well, what has it been like switching from Toronto to Indiana? Motherfucker, that was 5 years ago. Why are you still asking him that? You know, it's like that shit, you know? I mean, I love that he's so open and he just is pure love. This is always home. This is where I grew up. This is always going to be home. You know, he can't say it enough. You can't hear it. He's on the record for this. And in some ways, like I said, we want Siakam to be very happy, very established, and very successful with the Indiana Pacers, Tyrese Halliburton, Andrew Nembhard, and them. So just chill, William Liu. Chill on that. And if number one Siakam fan is reading it the same way as I am, well, then I must be in the right place because she has all the right feelings and wants for Pascal Siakam. She has all the right ones. That's right. Yeah, Kaloy's saying, exactly, Cool Cat. Give him his space. He's a Pacer now. Yeah, I mean, I get it. I mean, I'm a homer for the Raptors, and Will Liu is a fan for the Raptors too, even though he's destructive and toxic towards them sometimes with his bullshit. But yeah, there's a time and a place for everything. And that signing that jersey should have happened afterward. Although Siakam was so funny, he's signing, he's like, I'll write to Pascal by Pascal. That's so cute because he did get touched by that. He did get touched by that. And it's true. You know, there are probably people out there that have named their kid Pascal or Kawhi after our players, or Kyle, you know, DeMar. You can name your kid DeMar. Yeah, this is my kid DeMar. Yeah, he's named after DeMar DeRozan. You know, this is an honor. This is a huge thing to name your child after someone. It's a huge thing, really. Yeah, Stargate saying Elijah Martin and Jaden Bradley aren't going to last long here. I'll give it till Christmas. I don't know. That's too soon. I think Elijah's run's going to end next summer. I think it's going to end next summer. I think he's going to fail miserably this year, and he's not going to earn his second year of his contract because he's not going to be guaranteed for it. I think that's my prediction for him. Jaden Bradley's, I got to give him some time still because we have to see him a little bit more. His summer league was underwhelming and was not that good. We got to see him in training camp and preseason. We got to see him at 905. That's a big one right there. We got to see him in the little bits on the Raptors too this season. So, you know, Jaden Bradley's got a lot of time and runway to do things. Now, Elijah Martin's got 1 year in the books, and the way he's acting this summer is not looking like he's going to have many more years after this, is what I would say. You know, Marquise Noel came in with that kind of energy too. Elijah Martin. He said he came in, he's going to be the MVP. He's going to be the greatest Raptor of all time. That man played for 1 minute on the court for the Raptors, didn't score a point, and now he's off and playing internationally. So, you know, you got to be smart, Martin. In some ways, you need to understand your place and who you are and what you've established yourself as. Siakam was very humble the whole time, and that's part of the reason why he skyrocketed to the top of the league, is because he was never, ever grandiose and braggadocio in his first couple of years. He was a quiet soldier who listened to the veterans on his team, and he did the work. You can ask Rico Hines. The hardest working person in the NBA is Pascal Siakam, according to Rico Hines. And Elijah Martin, I don't see you working. I mean, you're dodging summer league. That's fucked up, bro. That's fucked up right there. I'm going to say that right now. That you go watch that Vegas vlog by Elijah Martin. You tell me how he comes off and what his priorities are as an NBA player. You seriously, barely an NBA player, honestly. I wish he hadn't retracted so much a Stargate. I want to see that. Trevor's saying this. They all don't want us to have Kawhi because they know we are going to kick ass. So just gaslight Raptors fans because they know many of them will buy the bullshit every day and get mad for nothing. This is the thing with everything. It's the thing with politics too. We've got to understand what is trying to rage bait us and what isn't. There's a clip this week from Tempo Land of Marina Mabry coming up to different players on her team and rage baiting them on purpose. He said, your biggest weakness is dribbling. What do you think is your second biggest weakness? She's asking her teammates this. Trolling. That's what the action is. That's it in a jestful way that you can see it in an easy way. There's going to be people out there that want to get a rise out of you, and they're going to give you shit that you don't like. There's a ton of it on Raptors Reddit. A ton of it. There's all kinds of crazy ass posts on Raptors Reddit right now that are stupid as fuck. You know, I already did the Raptors Reddit of the day, so I'll go ahead and go to the Raptors Reddit page, and I'll tell you all the rage bait I can see. I block people every day because of it. You know, like here's one. All right, I'll go through Reddit posts real quick that are here. They're just organically here. I'm not choosing them ahead of time. This first one's got the NBA Paint logo with the Raptors logo on there, and it says rank these three: Alan Graves, CMB, and Jacoby Walter. First of all, that's a disruptive post. That's like pitting people and stuff like that. We don't need to rank these guys. They're on the same team. They play for the same team. But this person wants you to go in the comments and rank them. And if players come and look at this, you know, in some ways, this is annoying. It's like, this is a toxic post is what I'm saying. Rank these three players on the Raptors, just these three. Okay, here's the Grange post that you're talking about. Kawhi is expected to join the Raptors in Quebec City for training camp. If the law firm investigating the Clippers on behalf of the NBA has definitive evidence that Clippers and Leonard circumvented the salary cap, they would have likely provided their findings months ago. See, that's Michael Grange using logic. And in some ways, he's right. Here we go. Here's another dumb post. Can the Raptors beat the Sixers with Kawhi? What is this dumb question? Of course we can. We can beat the Sixers without Kawhi. We could beat them with Brandon. We beat them last year. We split the series with the Sixers last year. We fucking beat them 2 out of 4, and they beat us 2 out of 4. Like, what the fuck? We can beat the Sixers even with LeBron and Jalen. Like, who the fuck is a Raptors fan asking, can we even beat the Sixers with LeBron on the team now with Kawhi? See, this is a dumbass question. Like, it's so stupid. Here's another one that's so bad. If the Kawhi trade fails, who do you trade Brandon and Grady with instead? Like, they're already thinking if the trade doesn't happen, we got to trade them right away. Who do we trade them for there? This is toxic. This is speculative, toxic kind of Reddit bullshit that I ignore most of the time. Here's another one. Question: which superstar would you take, Steph Curry or Kawhi Leonard? In some ways, this is unnecessary. Curry is not on our radar, honestly. This is just some bullshit somebody started last week. It's toxic. Once again, I'm starting to see Curry in a Raptors jersey. Predictions everywhere. Toxic. Here's another question that's so dumb. If Masai was still president, would the Raptors front office have still pulled off the trigger on the Kawhi deal right now? Oh my gosh, woulda, coulda, shoulda. Who cares? This isn't something that's not ever going to matter. Why would you ask this? Yeah, they probably would, because Masai was there the first time when we made the risk of getting Kawhi Leonard in a dubious position, and he was all for it. So yeah, it probably would have just happened the same way with Bobby Webster and Masai still here. Seriously, some of these are so waste of a time. I've seen a vision. This person sees a vision, and they've seen Kawhi and Steph Curry on our team. Let's see, a lot of this is garbage, and some of it's very toxic. Some of it's very, very toxic. So that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of toxic bullshit out there. There's a lot of rage baiting. There's a lot of gaslighting, and they are coming in on us right now with the unfinished business with Kawhi right now. That a lot of forces are coming in and kind of doing their little kick to the Raptors while this is going on to add their bullshit. That's what it is right there. That's what it is right there. And Trevor J's exactly right. I'm gonna give Trevor a dunk for that, because he's bringing up he's shining some light on the truth. Rage baiting is a commonality in our society, and everybody needs to be more like not taking the bait on the rage and just being like, okay, this is bullshit. This is a waste of time. I'm going to ignore this. That is the best action. If you engage with it, you encourage them to do it more. So that's what I'm saying. 75 on the dunk charts for our commissioner of fun, Trevor J. Appreciate that comment. Yeah. Stargate saying Kiki and Marina we agree with. Okay, 5 players. I have Sabali as well as one of them. Yeah. And Tiani's just such a prospect, and because she's a draft pick and there's a lot of potential, and plus she's got height. She could be really a key player for us if she's developed right over the next 5 years. Tiani Key could be a very good player for us. I can see a lot of the potential in her frame and her skills that she already has. She just needs to be refined, developed, strength trained, and she will be a good WNBA player. Trust me. She's got the right frame, and she's got some of the good skills. So Key is definitely somebody in that list for me. Cool Cat saying, I love my Raptor Freak family. Very much a part of my life. I'm feeling good, trying to declutter, and looking forward to great weather all this weekend. I love that too. I'm going to go pick up Adriana in a couple hours, and we're going to spend the long weekend together out here. And we're planning on going some hikes. That hike I was going to go do the other day that I didn't get to, we're going to go do that tomorrow. And we're going to enjoy watching CBL basketball all weekend, and the tempo on Sunday. And yeah, we love just having time, the two of us spending time making meals together and just enjoying nature, because she loves getting a break from the city and coming out to see me in the woods. And the weather's just so perfect and nice, like you said, that it's not too hot and it's not chilly. And actually the bugs are kind of good right now too. My bugs are really good in my yard. I'm not having a lot of mosquito problems at all this year. Really am not, honestly. We love you so much, Cool Cat. And I'm going to give you a dunk. Why not? I'm going to give some dunks to people. See, you can get strikes or dunks on this channel. If you get dunks, it's for being an awesome person and somebody that we love on this channel. If you want to get strikes, it's because you're abrasive and you're insulting. So yeah, that's what you get then. You get dunks, you get praise. If you get strikes, you get the door. That's what you get. 27 on the dunk chart for Cool Cat. There you go. Kaloy saying this: Raptors Reddit is a mixture of news and teams rage baiting. Laugh my ass. Yeah. And I know it's not even Raptors fans. I'm telling you, it's Knicks, Sixers, Celtics fans coming in under names. It may not even be them. It may be bots they arranged to come in, because I kind of see patterns in the posts and how they try and pull apart and what they try and do. And let's not get it twisted. This is happening to all 30 fan bases of the NBA, that there's a certain level of this kind of bullshit and toxicness around. All of them. All of them. Kaloy saying, I saw someone there saying they will fall into deep depression if the Kawhi trade falls apart. I know. This is people that need help. In some ways, it's not even about the issues with the Raptors. There's something inside with them in their lives privately that they're just using the excuse of the Kawhi trade to be the thing that falls them out. No, no, they're using that as excuse. You have problems, obviously. You need help. You need help, is what we should tell this person. We want to reach out and help this person. That's what I'm saying right there. We want to help them. This is why I'm very critical of King Nephew. As he grows and grows, he influences the young fans to be this brittle. That's what I'm saying. You got to be stoic to an extent. You got to be a little bit more held together. That's why I was saying this week, let's not be whining and crying and sad about this Kawhi situation we can't control. Let's stand like grown-ups and take it like adults and just go through it like an adult would, which is very like methodically and just smart and not overreacting emotionally, because there's a lot of people that are getting in their emotions and acting crazy for no reason because nothing's resolved. Let's wait until see it all, the dust settles. And then, if something is really fucked up and you want to crash out, then I would have more respect for that. I would have more respect for that. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Trevor J saying, as Draymond said, LeBron's going to get crushed. Yeah, I hope so. We'll see. Stargate saying brittle. That's the perfect word, Kaloy. Yeah, it's a pretty good one for that. He's saying, right? What we need right now is toughness in general. Exactly. All around in the world. They're going to try and tell you you're a victim. You don't have to believe their narrative. That's the thing. People will tell you, oh, you should be upset because Trump is saying this about Canada and this about Canada. Fuck him. He doesn't have to be a part of my life. I don't have to fucking give a shit about what Trump thinks. I don't care about that. Oh, you should be feeling like victims, Canada, because of tariffs. Fuck that. I had no control over that. I'll live my life how I'm doing it, and I'm doing fine anyway. So it's like you can take the bait and say, oh, no, they're telling me I should be upset. I should be upset about this. It's up to you. If it's a real pressing problem, very in proximity to your life every day and what's going on, yeah, it's a problem. Take care of it. But if it's far away or if it's something that's like kind of like out of your control, you getting all bent out of shape and upset about it is not helping anything. It's just you're putting yourself through shit. You're on the floor in the food court at the Eaton Center kicking and screaming. That's on your choice. You don't have to do that. You can still stand in line patiently as they try and fix the smoothie machine at A&W, and they have a line all the way down the food court, and you're just in the line waiting patiently. You can either fall out and get pissed off about it, or you could be an adult about it and say, I'll wait my time. Oh, wait, I have power in this. Do I really want to get this A&W and wait here for 20 minutes? I could actually walk over there and go get something from Barbarito instead. Yeah, you can take autonomy and take power in your life for making your own decisions. That empowers you. Or you could listen to people tell you this is what's happening. You can't do anything about it. Get mad. It's up to you. Stoicism is a very good philosophy. Some of it I don't totally agree with. Like you shouldn't care about other people and just care about yourself. But I care about other people. And I feel like being more stoic in chaos and confusion and rage baiting is actually a really good skill to have in today's world. Trust me. And that's part of, maybe I'm the antidote to William Liu's example for emotionally crashing out and having crazy ass reactions to Raptors games and stuff like that, like he has in the past. Yeah. Or crashing out about Kawhi or whatever, in some ways I can show the better example of how to react. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do here a little bit. Yeah. Yeah. Fiercey's saying, good morning, fam, and happy Friday. Fiercey's cruising. She's on a cruise. She's on a big boat. Stream still in effect. Wow. It is 12:18 here. So 1:30. No, it's the same time here as it is there. You're in the same time zone as us because it's only 12:20 here. So yeah, it is Alexathon, but I've only done 3 hours. I'm going into my third hour. I should finish up soon. Trevor's saying she has to add muscle mass and she'll be a very powerful physical player. Yeah, Key. Tiani Key, that's for sure. Yeah, good afternoon. It is afternoon, but only 20 minutes after afternoon. All right, let me go ahead and do the CBL check-in. Last night, there was a very exciting game between Brampton and Montreal, and it was a 1-point win for Brampton Honey Badgers. And in fact, Sean East, that I mentioned earlier from the G League Rising Stars, was the key player that hit the game-winning shot at the end of the game. Montreal needed this win bad, but Brampton wanted it worse. Montreal season's over. They finished their season. They are going to finish with a 10-14 record, and that may not be good enough to make the playoffs. And it's really going to be between Montreal and Ottawa who's going to be left out. So, Fiercey, there is some hope for your Blackjacks since Brampton beat Montreal last night. Yeah, it's a big deal. Big deal. So Montreal will finish 10-14. If Ottawa can win both their games that are left, they will get in the playoffs, and Montreal will be the team that misses the playoffs. Brampton and Niagara have qualified for the playoffs. They're in for sure. So it's gotten to the point where it's either Montreal or Ottawa are out. And still, Ottawa is still the one that's more likely to be out. But because Brampton beat Montreal last night, they did a favor for Ottawa Blackjacks. So they have a chance still. In the game, the leading scorer for Brampton Honey Badgers was 30 points from Trenton Flowers. He's a G League player. 26 for Sean East the second. Yeah, Elijah Martin. You could be putting numbers up in the CEBL, but no, you're wasting your summer. You didn't even play in summer league. On the other side, 15 points from Quincy Guerrier, but the leader was Lou Williams III with 18. It's very disappointing. I thought Montreal was going to win, but they choked. And Sean East and the Brampton Honey Badgers got that win. And now Montreal's done. Their 24 games are done. They're the first team to finish their season in the regular season. Now they have to wait and see how things go on whether they're going to be in the playoffs or not. Chris Boucher was at courtside for this game. Much as Scott was at Toronto Tempo watching the ladies play at Scotiabank Arena, Chris Boucher was out in Brampton watching his Montreal Alliance lose by 1 to Brampton Honey Badgers. Tonight, there are 3 games on the schedule for CBL. So, yeah, Ottawa will play in Winnipeg tonight. They need this one bad in Canada Life Center, 8 p.m. Eastern start. Ottawa Blackjacks at Winnipeg Sea Bears. Also, Saskatoon Mamba take their 11-11 record, and they play the Edmonton Stingers in Edmonton tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern. This game does have implications for both teams because they're fighting for the seeding in the West. Calgary's out for sure, but in some ways, the team that wins this game will either have to play Winnipeg or Vancouver in the first round. So in some ways, this is a bragging rights thing between Edmonton and Saskatoon. The last game will be Niagara River Lions. The 2-time champions will play a rematch of last year's finals against the Calgary Surge tonight in Calgary at 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. And, well, Calgary's already eliminated, but Niagara needs this game to figure out their seeding also. In some ways, they're trying to navigate with Brampton on who's going to be the second seed in the East behind Scarborough. Guys, I have great news. Yesterday, I purchased tickets to the first round of the playoffs for CBL next Thursday for Scarborough Shooting Stars at the Pan Am Center. The tickets I bought are crazy. I'm going to be sitting in nav seats at one end of the court in the front row, right underneath the basket near the Scarborough Shooting Stars bench. Adriana cannot go with me, so I'm going with Stevie Roots, and I'm going to be literally underneath the basket for the CBL Scarborough Shooting Stars game next Thursday night. Whoever they're going to play, we don't know yet because it's got to be determined. I've never sat at the front row in Nab Bhatia's seat underneath the basket like that ever for a basketball game. So it should be fun. I will be talking to the refs. I will be talking to the players, and I will be close enough to the Scarborough Shooting Stars bench that I will be able to hear what they're saying on the bench. So this is going to be very exciting. I'm going to come back on next Friday, and I will be telling y'all about my in-game experience at CBL playoff first round Scarborough Shooting Stars versus whichever opponent they get after the games are played this week. I'm really stoked about this. This is going to be so cool to sit in nav seat, the seat that's right behind the basket, right underneath there. Yeah. I've never sat in those seats before. I actually could have sat right next to the Scarborough bench, but I know I'm going to be loud, and I don't want to piss them off. You know who usually sits in the seats that Steve and I are going to be sitting at? I might be sitting next to Jamal McGlure at that game because it's going to be right next to the seats where he's usually sitting when he goes to the games. So maybe I'll get to talk to old Big Cat while I'm watching the game too. Yeah. So, yeah, that's what's going on right now with CBL, just to check in there with that and stuff like that. Yeah, really good stuff. Yeah. Trevor's saying, oh, wait, I already read that. Kaz has got the cruise ship out there. Yeah, she's out there cruising with Fiercey Jr. and Fiercey's friends. And it just sounds like a glorious, fun time going to Puerto Rico and other islands right now. Very, very cool. Kaz is saying, I hope you're having a good time, MJ. Yeah, let's go Blackjacks. They still got a chance. They need to win tonight. And Winnipeg's not an easy team to beat in Winnipeg. So this game is very crucial. Ottawa represent. That's right. Isaac's hoping the Blackjacks get that last seed. Because you think about it, they win. Well, your prize is you get to go to that game that I'm going to, that I just described, and watch. You get to play Scarborough as the 4th seed against the 1st seed. That's the thing. Scarborough's got the best record in the CBL. They have home court advantage all the way through to the championship, no matter what. And in fact, they have tickets up for the finals games already for the 15th and the 16th in Scarborough. I don't want to buy tickets to those games yet, but I would love to be there when they win the second championship if they do this year. And depending on how they do in the early rounds, since they're one and done, I don't want to jinx them. I'm not going to try and buy the tickets ahead of time. But I do want to be there if they win the championship this year. So hopefully in the middle of August, I'll be celebrating a Scarborough Shooting Stars second CBL championship with them on the court at the game. Yeah, I'm excited about this. So it may be Ottawa versus Scarborough next Thursday when I'm sitting underneath the basket. I might have to talk to Javante Smart. Fiercely saying this, I am having a wonderful time. Beautiful weather, tasty food, great entertainment, and best of all, relaxing. Thank you for asking. Super cool, Lex. Amazing seats. Yeah. Yeah. And they're cheap. They're only $75. It's kind of crazy. There's such good value in the CBL, guys. You can watch the games for free on YouTube, and going to games is not that expensive. So if you've been sleeping on the CBL, well, this is your week to get out to a game if there is one in your market. And tonight, Edmonton, Winnipeg, Calgary, you guys got games out west tonight. So make it a good Friday night with a very good entertainment value for the price. Seriously. Yeah. Trevor's saying this. Let's see. Canadian goods to the U.S. don't hurt Canadians. It hurts U.S. residents more because they pay for it. This is true. The tariffs actually are passed on to the taxpayers of the U.S. And that's the sad thing about it. Speaking of Canadian goods, my good for today is PharmaSave. PharmaSave is a network of drugstores, pharmacies, that is independent across Canada. It's a Canadian company, and it's not a big, huge corporation. Most of them are owned locally by small families, small business. But PharmaSave has a brand overall across Canada where you can buy products like this, like cotton swabs, like ear, they call them Q-tips. They're cotton swabs, but people call them Q-tips too. But yeah, you can get a lot of good products that you need from a pharmacy with this brand, PharmaSave. And PharmaSave is actually a great place to get this stuff. So there's a PharmaSave location near you in Canada. That should be your drugstore. That should be your pharmacy. Don't be using Shoppers. Shoppers is a big corporation with the billionaire Galen Weston and the oligarch here in Canada. I do not shop at Loblaws, No Frills, No Name, or Shoppers, because that's all the same big corporation. So I find alternatives. And PharmaSave is a great one for you guys for your pharmacy needs. So yeah, they sell every kind of product, like antacid, like a cotton swab. You can get all this stuff with the PharmaSave brand. So definitely support PharmaSave for your pharmacy needs. Yeah, there you go. There you go. All right, let me run through the rest of my tabs. I have a few more real fast. I already did that. Oh, let's do the HD real quick. We started a new gate today. We're in gate 33, which is the gate of retreat, gate of privacy, the revelation of secrets, an active withdrawal, and the transformation of a weak position into a strength. Wisdom and experience is shared through the voice of remembrance. Yeah, so this is a little bit of like retract and kind of like gauge your situation and kind of replenish and plan the next move. So line 1, the word for today is avoidance. And in detriment, it's where courage is just plain foolishness, unable to retreat when overwhelmed by stimulation. In some ways, you got to pick and choose your fights and your battles. And sometimes you may be overmatched and you really shouldn't get involved in that battle, right? So sometimes it is smart to go the other way. My grandfather fought in World War II as a freedom fighter for Estonia, and they started conscripting people to go fight. Well, he got on the other train and went the other way. Some people say he's a coward. He ran from it. No, in some ways he's thinking about his survival. And sometimes it's not about being tough. It's more about being like Michael Jackson and just beating it. So show him who's funky, show him who's right. it doesn't matter who's wrong or right. Just beat it. Just get the fuck out of there because it's dangerous. And it doesn't matter if you get labeled a coward or any kind of bullshit like that. If it's not a fight you should be involved in, because it's gonna be very bad for you, right? So avoidance is the line for today. And in exaltation, done correctly, it's the wisdom in a weak position to recognize that survival demands complete withdrawal, retreating when one realizes that they are in a weak position. Now, I would pretend this into the future in the next couple of years as our digital age turns on us. It becomes a surveillance state where we don't want to use phones or computers or internet anymore because the powers that be are using them to control us and watch us. And that part of the theme for the line today could be avoiding internet and avoiding those kind of connections because they're not safe for you because they're all being surveilled. So there may actually be an era where we all go technopunk and we kind of get into our own kind of techno stuff that's not big business or part of this whole thing. And we got to kind of be avoiding certain things. Seriously, this is something that I can see possibly happening in the near future. So you guys, we get so attached to our devices, but our devices may actually be the thing that are dangerous to us. And there may be a very tough decision down the road where you've got to just turn your back on technology for a while for your own survival. Let's just put it that way. HD is a very interesting thing. Human design will teach you a lot about yourself. The system is used to help people live happier lives. It's not a scam. They don't want your money. They will tell you more about your personality and who you are and how you were built. So if you're interested in what I was just talking about, you can find a bunch of different HD websites online at Human Design and take your free test and get your chart. And you may learn something about yourself that helps you live happier. That's the whole goal of the system. Is it right there? That's it right there. All right. Thank you for letting me indulge in that. I appreciate that. Let me see if there's anything on the breaking news other than Grange's tweet just now. You know, there's a lot of stupid stuff going on down south in all kinds of dumb ways. All right, let's see. I did the Redder of the day. I did the birthday. I guess it's just a classic card now, guys, and I can wrap it up. Yeah, I've gone really long today. This is crazy. But I guess there's a lot to talk about. The Kawhi stuff, the tempo game, the CBL with the playoffs coming up. There's a lot going on right now. All right, let's do this guy. This is a hard one. Actually, this will take too long. I don't want a really hard one right now. We'll do this one. This one's perfect for today. All right, y'all. Full name answer on the classic card is how it works. And if you give a half name or something like that, you might get Seagull. If you give some guesses and you're stumped, I'll give you some clues. All right, here we go. Let's see who can figure this out. This one's pretty easy. It's a Raptor card. Look at that. We got a Raptor card today. That's awesome. That's a pretty easy one right there, guys. If you can't get this one right away, I'll be ashamed of y'all. We see a big science back there. There you go. Fiercey's going to get it. She's on cruise. She's on vacation, but she ain't messing around. That is Terrence Ross, the two-time dunk champion for the Toronto Raptors, a guy who does Twitch all the time, a guy I shouted out to in Kensington Market one day and said, yo, T. Ross, two-time NBA dunk champion for the Raptors. And he laughed at me. And then, talking to him on Twitch in the last couple of years, he's been such an awesome guy. He's so open about the NBA and the inner workings of it. I appreciate him for it. So, yeah, Terrence Ross is the card of the day. Pretty easy, and Fiercey's going to get it. So, in honor of Terrence, I don't want to do his number because it's too low. What is his number? 31? 31? Yeah, we'll do 30 points. 31 points for Fiercey for Terrence Ross because it's only fitting. We'll do his number. 31 points for T. Ross. And I'm going to keep that card. I just put it up there because I'm putting it in the stack with me because I am keeping a lot of these Raptors cards that I get because I'm like, man, I want the Raptors collection. I can throw all the other ones out. I don't care. But a Raptors card, I'm keeping it. That's right. That's right. Good to see current trivia champion Fiercey get on the boards with this one today and getting Terrence Ross right away. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad y'all did that. I'm proud of y'all. Because if we had sat there for a couple minutes, I would be like, what are y'all doing? Come on now. That's like the day when we had Grady Dick and nobody answered it because I think that my stream got cut off and a lot of people left, but nobody got it. And I was like sad about it. I really was. 31 on the charts for Fiercey for that one. Let's go do the live score update for the totals real quick. And of course, Slug Deezy is number 1 right now. Stargate is number 2 and Fiercey is number 3. in the standings for the Raptor Freak Trivia right now. She will be moving up to 1,631. So 1,631 for Fiercey, 2,200 for Slug Deezy at the top, 1,850 for Stargate at second. So yeah, there we go. I'm gonna wrap it up real quick. Yeah, let's see. Muggsy Bogues, Ed Davis. Come on now. Antonio Davis, what are you guys doing? Y'all are funny. Yeah, the Grady Dick one was sad. Like Grady Dick was the card of the day and nobody got it. And I was like, this is just weird. How did this happen? Oh, it's because everybody got cut off and didn't see it. That's why. Yeah. Kenne, thank you for being here. Original Raptor Freak Kenne. Have a nice long weekend, everybody. Back at you, Kenne. I appreciate your patronage for 5 years now. Watching my channel since the very beginning. He's an original one right from the start with me. That's right. W Stream, W Community. Kaz, I'm trying to go easy on you. I guess that's my cue. Check on your fantasy teams, y'all. But man, I'm running away with it now. I almost doubled you up. But yeah, Meredith's winning. Kareem's winning. Fiercey's winning. Cool Cat's winning. Yeah. And yeah, check your WNBA fantasy ESPN teams if you do have one. All right, I'm out. Good job, Tempo. Not really. It's what it is. It's growing pains. And yeah, congratulations to my 3 stars of the game, Laura Yaskeda, Timapui, and Niara Sabali. And well, we just got to come back for the next game. As Sandy said, there's more games, beats in the road, and we just got to do better the next time. Improve when we go to Golden State to play the Valkyries on Sunday. That's the next thing, the next assignment. All right, I love you guys. Thank you for being here. It's much better to get dunks than strikes on the Raptor Freak channel. That's for sure. All right. Love you guys. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Hey, I want to remind y'all, tomorrow is Scotty's birthday. And for Scotty's birthday, we're going to do a Saturday Share the Love Club for Jonathan Mobo. So get ready to share the love for J-Mo, who's now a Sacramento King, as we bid adieu to him this offseason for his new horizons in his NBA career. And how fitting to do it on Scott's birthday, such a selfless person who would give to so many people around him that he loves, like Jonathan, that we'll do the Share the Love Club on Scotty's birthday tomorrow. All right, for Jonathan Mobo. All right, I'll see you guys tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. for that. Yeah. She said, I missed the beginning of the stream, Lex. Will our performance impact future chances of getting more games at Scotiabank Arena? That's an interesting question. I'll just touch on it real quick. I doubt it. I think that the money made at these games is pretty good. They had pretty much a sellout last night. And Rodgers will make money off of the tempo in an indirect way. He will do it. It's just that our record in Scotiabank has not been good. We're 0-2 there so far. And, well, we need to get a win in that arena. We got one more chance, August the 18th against Caitlin Clark. You're welcome. No, they make too much money off this. It's just that the tempo have to figure out which games they want to do it for so that they can make money off of it. Because if they were there all the time, it would probably be bad. They have to be special games, and they should be against marquee teams like the Lynx and the Fever, because that will make the people come. If it's the Aces, if it's the big names like Caitlin Clark, then we can sell out Scotia, and Teresa and Larry and all them can make some money. But Ed Rodgers is getting his slice of the pie for renting the building, which is annoying. All right, I'll see y'all tomorrow. Let's go tempo. Oh, and I found out yesterday Olivia Miles is half Canadian. That's pretty cool. I like that. Her dad was at the game last night. I have some more stuff I want to talk about Olivia Miles, but not today. We're gone way too long. But yeah, I think it's cool she's Canadian, half Canadian. That's pretty cool. She had a lot of people at the game last night, huh? Olivia Miles, like 30 people. All right, y'all, I'm out. And 2-finger salute to Amazon's announcers. Y'all were horrible. Their broadcast crew was horrible, man.